Chapter 560. Lu Qingyu flicked her sleeves. A large, greenish-black fish tank flew out of her sleeve and hovered in front of the lake in front of everyone. All of a sudden, everyone had a strange feeling. The lake in front of them seemed to have risen slightly, and the water in the lake seemed to be pulled into the fish tank. Yu Yuan's face turned cold, but he wasn't in a hurry to express his opinion. Instead, he wanted to see what this great demon of Baofeng Lake was going to do. The mouth of the large, greenish-black fish tank suddenly faced downward. Then, streams of water poured into the lake like brilliant waterfalls. Inside the waterfall of the spring, numerous agile fish with bright and dazzling scales suddenly transformed into many armored soldiers as they fell into the lake. Splash! However, the moment they fell into the lake, the soldiers transformed from fish returned to their original forms. Thus, in the clear lake, suddenly, there were hundreds of fish swimming in it. There hadn't been any fish in the lake before, but now there were so many fish, as if the lake was full of vitality. Lu Qingyu wasn't joking when she said that she would bring her family with her. She had indeed brought all of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade demonic fish that had gained intelligence from the depths of Baofeng Lake. Furthermore, she had released them into the lake without the permission of the owner. The lake where the island was located was the private property of Yu Zhu, the owner of the abandoned land. The lake water contained abundant spiritual qi, which was extremely suitable for the growth and evolution of those demonic fish. The hundreds of demonic fish swam happily in the lake, blowing bubbles as they absorbed the spiritual energy in the lake and absorbed it into their demonic bodies. Baofeng Lake was dozens of times larger than the lake in front of them, and more than 100 meters deep. However, the spiritual qi in Baofeng Lake was far less than this lake. Because of the revival of spiritual qi in the abandoned land and Yu Zhu's existence, the nameless lake in front of them had gradually evolved into a treasured land on the Qianxian continent, which was the most suitable place for aquatic demons to cultivate. Lu Qingyu knew that if she wanted to advance from the 7th grade to the 8th grade, she would have to find a new sacred land for cultivation. This was the new home that Lu Qingyu had chosen. As someone who was close to the Tao of water, she could no longer hold herself back after just standing by the lakeside and slightly sensing the immense spiritual energy of water in the lake. After releasing the demonic fishes that had attached themselves to her in Baofeng Lake, she rushed towards the island at the center of the lake, which was shrouded in the colorful miasma, and said in a somewhat reserved manner, "Please forgive me." Deep in her heart, Lu Qingyu firmly believed that this was the place she had been dreaming of. She also believed that Yu would definitely accept her. Who could refuse a 7th grade aquatic demon cultivating in this lake and swearing allegiance to it? Besides, her arrival would be beneficial to this abandoned land, to the lake, and to Yu. Isn't it inappropriate to lead the fish into the lake without the owner's consent? Old Xian Tong said solemnly. He had already noticed that Yu Yuan's face had turned cold as he walked out of the baleful demon cauldron. He had known Yu Yuan for a long time, so he had long known that the young master of the Yu clan, whose realm wasn't considered high, had quite a temper and all kinds of vicious methods. Gao Qin was surprised and also said, "It's a little against the rules." "I know." Lu Qingyu nodded slightly. Without looking at the others, she fixed her eyes on the island at the center of the lake and said, "I'm really sorry that I have to meet the owner of this abandoned land in such a way. But I also hope that the owner can walk out of the mist and see me, and accept my arrival." She was using a different method than Yutu's acceptance and acknowledgement. Huoluo and the burly man named Lei Jiao also looked expectantly at the island at the center of the lake. They didn't take Yu Yuan seriously at all. They believed that even if Yu had been invited back to the tranquil continent by the Goblin Temple, part of his soul might still be on the island. Otherwise, Wei Xian's escape couldn't be explained. They had always believed that Yu was the one who had suppressed Wei Xian with the frigid power of the abandoned land and the vast might of heaven. Outsiders indeed don't know the rules. Yu Yuan let out a cold harumph as he controlled the evil demon cauldron and flew towards the seven-colored miasma. Standing above the clusters of clouds, he said to Lu Qingyu, "Since you've taken human form, you should follow the rules of the human race. Since you don't know the rules, I'll teach you." Lu Qingyu didn't even look at him. "No matter how close you are to the owner of this abandoned land, you're not the owner. You haven't been conferred a title by the Goblin Temple. What right do you have to teach me?" With these thoughts in mind, the demon from Baofeng Lake gently waved her sleeves. Ripples suddenly appeared on the surface of the lake in front of her. Countless wisps of water vapor, which contained pure water spiritual energy, floated up from the surface of the lake. As she waved her hand, wisps of water power flew into the large, cyan fish tank. "It's a bit too much to gather pure water power from the lake in front of the owner." Huoluo shook his head, disagreeing with her. "Even if you want to force the owner to show himself, you can't do it this way, right?" The reason why Huoluo said this was because he didn't want to offend you two. "I've sincerely asked to see the owner over and over again, but the owner has ignored me. I have no choice but to resort to violence." Lu Qingyu was still looking at the island at the center of the lake. A hint of anger could be seen in her bright, mirror-like eyes, as if she felt that she had been underestimated and insulted. "Please forgive me, master." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The thick, seven-colored miasma that enveloped the island at the center of the lake suddenly pressed down towards the lake. Clusters of multicolored flames that carried a corrosive smell suddenly flew out of the light shield within the miasma and rained down on the lake like a rainstorm. Gao Qin's expression flickered as he screamed, "Poison stream formation." He finally realized what was hidden within the seven-colored miasma, and why the island at the center of the lake was regarded as a forbidden area, and why no one dared to enter it. Poison stream formation. Huoluo's face flickered as he instantly retreated by hundreds of meters. Crackle! The thunder horn on his arm, which was covered in slithering lightning snakes, panicked and morphed into a bolt of lightning that shot away from the uncanny lake in the blink of an eye. Gao Qin and Qian Lao also hurriedly retreated. A cluster of bright red flames was the first to fall into the lake. Burning in the lake water, it found a demonic fish with intelligence. The demonic fish only lasted for a few seconds before it was reduced to a pool of blood in the lake. More clusters of flames of different colors flew out of the seven-colored miasma and rained down on the lake. The demonic fish that had been released by Lu Qingyu and swimming happily at the bottom of the lake were suddenly killed by the corrosive acid. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen demonic fish were killed. Lu Qingyu was scared out of her wits when the first demonic fish was reduced to a pool of blood. She had never heard of the poison stream formation before, but seeing Huoluo and Lei Jiao's retreat, she knew how terrifying it was. Fizz! Clusters of flames splashed onto the large, cyan fish tank. The demonic blood that had been branded into the tank instantly started to melt. Lu Qingyu was finally scared. She rushed towards the island at the center of the lake and begged for mercy. "I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, master of the abandoned land. Please stop." She suddenly knelt down beside the lake and started to kowtow. While kowtowing, she said, "Qing Yu came here with sincerity. I sincerely want to be accepted by you. From now on, Qing Yu is willing to be loyal to you. I will only listen to you. I won't dare to be disloyal." Above the seven-colored miasma, Yu Yuan stood inside the cauldron with a mocking smile on his face. He looked at the poison stream flame that was still hunting the demonic fish in the lake and listened to Lu Qingyu's pleas. He was unmoved. "I told you that you don't know the rules. Let me teach you the rules. Stealing from the owner's house without the owner's permission will be severely punished." Lu Qingyu looked up in shock and stared at Yu Yuan. In the distance, Huoluo and Lei Jiao's expressions were uncertain as they finally realized a strange fact. At this moment, the person controlling the poison stream formation wasn't the legendary master of the abandoned land, but this young master of the Yu clan. Wei Xian was only hiding in the dark to cause trouble. He didn't even dare to step into the lake. Yu Yuan grinned coldly. He was at the late stage of the soul-traversing realm, but he didn't dare to enter the water. You relied on your profound great Tao of water to rush in and die. If Wei Xian dared to enter the island, the poison stream formation would activate, and that elder of the cold Yin sect would suffer more than just minor injuries. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. At this moment, Lu Qingyu finally panicked. She didn't dare to look at Yu Yuan anymore and just kowtowed. Please forgive me. I sincerely want to join the master of the abandoned land. Chapter 561. Wei Xian's face was livid. He found Lu Xiao at the Spirit Void sect in Spider City and said, "Didn't you two leave?" Lu Xiao, who was sitting cross-legged on a futon, was upset about the Tongtian Trading Company and Liang Jingyin. She had contacted Immortal Skysoar and learned from him that Liang Jingyin, an itinerant cultivator, was indeed chosen by the sect and was instructed to try to condense the Yang spirit in the wasteland. As long as Liang Jingyin succeeded, the Spirit Void sect would announce to the outside world that they would accept him openly. The sect knew about the grudge between Liang Jingyin and the Tongtian Trading Company. Immortal Skysoar told her not to care about Zhu Painting and the Tongtian Trading Company's attitude. The Spirit Void sect didn't care whether Liang Jingyin could establish himself in the wasteland or successfully condense the Yang spirit. Between the Chamber of Commerce and Liang Jingyin, the Spirit Void sect didn't help either side. She was worried about how to explain to Zhu Painting when she saw Wei Xian's gloomy face and angry look. Her eyelids twitched and she said, "What's wrong with you again?" "You were the one who told me that you two left," Wei Xian said angrily. Lu Xiao nodded. "I saw it with my own eyes." She was guided by Lord Grey Crow of the Goblin Temple, and went directly to the Goblin Temple on the Tranquil Continent through our teleportation array. "I was injured by her in the lake where she was hiding," Wei Xian said coldly. "Impossible." Lu Xiao frowned. "I saw her being teleported away. Who else could be in line with the great Tao of the wasteland and suppress me with the extreme cold heavenly power?" Wei Xian said. "It's a little strange." Lu Xiao stood up, thought for a moment, and said, "Unless she came back secretly and didn't use the teleportation array of the Spirit Void sect. Or maybe only a part of her left, and the rest of her demon body or demon soul is still hiding on the island in the middle of the lake." Lu Xiao changed the topic and said, "But why did you provoke her?" Wei Xian didn't say anything. Yu Tu was the master of the wasteland. Whether it was the Spirit Void sect or other sects, they were all bound by the Goblin Temple and had to act according to the rules. As an elder of the Frigid Yin sect and the person in charge of this place, no matter how stupid Wei Xian was, he shouldn't have offended Yu Zhu. The 7 major sects and the Goblin Temple were only allowed to stay in this part of the world because of their kind word. Lu Zhao's face was dark. Our Spirit Void sect contributed greatly. Without this teleportation formation and our many years of accumulation, the Goblin Temple would not have allowed the 7 great sects to establish themselves in the ancient lands. She was solemnly warning Wei Xian not to break the rules of the ancestral grounds and implicate the Spirit Void sect. "I didn't know about her beforehand." Wei Xian also felt wronged. "If I had known that she was on the island at the center of the lake, I definitely wouldn't have done anything rash." "Then, who did you offend?" Lu Xiao asked. "Yu clan. That kid called Yu Yuan can be considered as him." Wei Xian sighed. Yu Yuan again. In the depths of the 7-colored miasma clouds, Yu Yuan controlled the baleful demon cauldron with a myriad of thoughts. Clusters of colorful flowing flames flew back into the miasma cloud from the lake water and the air, merging into the nether fire poison stream formation. "Next time you come to visit Master, be more humble and humble." Standing at the mouth of the cauldron, Yu Yuan warned Lu Qingyu with a grim face. This seventh-grade demon from Baofeng Lake was unruly and disrespectful to him. She deserved to be taught a lesson by the dim flame poison flowing formation. However, Yu Yuan also understood that it would be a good thing if a powerful demon like Lu Qingyu was loyal to Yu Zhu. Since Yu Zhu, as the master of this precious land, was a demon, she should have a few powerful demons under her command, such as Lu Qingyu, Huoluo, and Lei Jiao. If those powerful demons cultivated and grew stronger in her territory, they would also bring her vigorous vitality and help her with many trivial matters. If they worked together, both sides would benefit. Lu Qingyu knew this, and that Yu Zhu needed her. That was why she had acted so impudently. Demons were wild and unruly by nature. If they weren't taught a lesson, it would be even harder to tame them. With this setback, Yu Yuan believed that Lu Qingyu's submission would be much less troublesome when Yu Zhu returned. While Yu Yuan pondered, Lu Qingyu took away all of the demon fish that were still alive in the large cyan-black fish tank. She pulled the fish tank in front of her and glanced at the part of the fish that had been corroded by the poisonous flames. Sure enough, they had become much more docile. She nodded slightly and said, "I understand. I won't do it again." Huoluo and the burly man named Lei Jiao saw that Yu Yuan had calmed down, and that the dim flame poison flowing formation didn't act up again. They approached from afar and looked at Yu Yuan eagerly with fawning smiles on their faces. Yu Yuan waved his hand and said, "Like I said, Master is not here for the time being. You can all go back." This time, they didn't bother him anymore. "We'll come again next time. When Master returns, please tell him that we're sincere in our submission. We didn't come from the great lake of the desolate god. We're not disciples of the desolate god." With these words, Huoluo, Lei Jiao, and Lu Qingyu reluctantly left the lake. "Impressive, Brother Yu." Qian Lao laughed loudly and shook his head in admiration. "That Huoluo and Lei Jiao are both seventh-grade demons. Even I couldn't win against them. Lu Qingyu's battle prowess is enhanced by the lake and the deep sea. I can't believe that even she was beaten into submission." Gazing at the huge black cauldron in the seven-colored miasma clouds and Yu Yuan inside it, Qian Lao suddenly felt that he had made the right choice. He had chosen to protect Yu Yuan at the cost of damaging the Jade Pavilion, instead of trying to take the baleful demon cauldron from Yu Yuan. "I'll go to Spider City later." Yu Yuan nodded slightly at Gao Qin from the Chamber of Commerce. "I still have some business to take care of." "All right." Gao Qin agreed without hesitation. He clasped his hands and left. His attitude towards Yu Yuan had become much better. He was in a hurry to return to Spider City, inform Zhu Painting, and let the Chamber of Commerce know that Yu Yuan was able to control the deep flame poison flowing formation on the island in the middle of the lake in the desolate forgotten land. This alone was enough to prove Yu Yuan's value, and that his relationship with Yu Tu was even deeper than what the Chamber of Commerce knew. Gao Qin believed that only if Yu Yuan was fully trusted by Yu Zhu would she be able to activate the dark fire poison stream formation. He would never know that the deep flame poison stream formation that had first appeared in Chilly Wind Valley had been secretly created by the Heavenly Medicine sect under Yu Yuan's instructions in his previous life. The original owner of the deep flame poison stream formation wasn't Yu Tu, but Yu Yuan in his previous life. After Gao Qin left, Yu Yuan looked at Old Copper and said, "Since that Liang Jingyin has been targeted by the Tongtian Trading Company and robbed the Chamber of Commerce's resources, you don't have to worry too much." Old Copper rubbed his hands and laughed dryly in front of the lake, looking as if he wanted to enter the seven-colored miasma cloud. Yu Yuan saw it, but he didn't invite him. Instead, he said, "I'll come out later. You can either continue to Spider City or cultivate nearby." Then, he controlled the baleful demon cauldron and slowly sank into the miasma cloud. He was very clear that Old Copper wasn't Qin Yun, and he wasn't someone who swore loyalty to him. Old Copper was only a temporary ally, not a servant. He couldn't be treated as one of his own, so he definitely wouldn't bring him to the island. After floating into the island, Qin Yun, who was cultivating, said with bright eyes, "Young master, you can control the formation here?" He didn't see Yu Yuan use the flowing flame poison stream formation to teach Lu Qingyu a lesson. However, he could roughly see that the mysterious formation hidden deep inside the seven-colored miasma cloud could respond to Yu Yuan, and it could accurately attack outsiders under Yu Yuan's control. This meant that Yu Yuan had an extremely strong power at his disposal on the island in the middle of the lake. Focus on stabilizing your injuries. I need to enter the middle stage of the shattering profound realm, and then the late stage in a short time. Yu Yuan took a deep breath. I need to increase my cultivation as soon as possible. This place is indeed very helpful for my refinement of the shattering profound realm. Whoosh! The baleful demon cauldron suddenly grew several times larger. Yu Yuan was in the small world inside the cauldron. He immediately took out the corpses of the demon beasts and used the blood altar in the small world to strip the demon beasts of their flesh and blood essence. Everything was calm for the next half-month. Yu Yuan stayed on the island in the middle of the lake. He either used the blood altar and the baleful demon cauldron to refine his body, or quietly went out to hunt demon beasts of the 4th or 5th rank. He dragged the demon beasts, he killed into the baleful demon cauldron and brought them to the island in the middle of the lake to continue refining their flesh and blood essence. He cultivated diligently, forgetting to eat and sleep. He longed for a sudden change in his cultivation and a surge in his battle prowess. A month later, he successfully advanced from the early stage of the shattering profound realm to the middle stage. Another month and a half passed. Large holes suddenly appeared in the seven-colored miasma cloud at the center of the lake. The nearby spiritual energy surged toward the island in the middle of the lake in a mighty manner. The island in the middle of the lake and the land around it were rumbling. The commotion here was so great that it startled many people. The group of 4 had come from the Blue Luan Empire. They had brushed past Yu Yuan, Yuan Lianyao, and Old Qian in Spider City, and then disappeared. Now, the 4 guests from the Blue Luan Empire had split up and gone to the Devil Moon Empire and the Divine Might Empire. They happened to meet near the lake to see the island under the seven-colored miasma cloud, which was listed as a forbidden area by the owner of the abandoned land. Boom! Boom boom! The land around the island in the middle of the lake started to shake violently. Wasn't the owner of the abandoned land, called Yu Zhu, taken away by the Goblin Temple? The leader of the group sensed the movements on the ground and looked at the surging spiritual energy above the island in the middle of the lake. He was shocked. It's obvious that someone is cultivating on the island and causing a tide of spiritual energy. Chapter 562. The group of 4 consisted of 2 men and 2 women. They were a couple. The only spirit among the 4 was a tall and handsome man with a face as smooth as jade. He looked curiously at the island at the center of the lake and sensed the gathering of spirit energy. If the rumors are true, then this lake and island are Yushu's private territory. No one should be allowed to set foot in this place. The beautiful, petite woman holding his hand said softly, "There are indeed people cultivating in there." The other young couple also looked at the island at the center of the lake in surprise. Whoosh! Under the evening glow, a stream flowed through the void. Lu Qingyu, the 7th-grade demon, had turned into a young girl again. She had sensed the unusual movements in this area and thought that Yushu had returned, so she arrived first. She landed quietly and glanced at the 4 men and women. Her expression changed slightly. Lu Qingyu of Baofeng Lake. The spirit leading the group was slightly surprised. He stared deeply at her and exclaimed, "Why are you here?" Baofeng Lake was in the south of the Azure Phoenix Empire. As a member of the Chun clan, he obviously knew that this young girl was the great demon at the bottom of the lake. Chun Liangquan. Lu Qingyu snorted and nodded at him as a greeting. Chen Liangquan pondered for a moment and said with a smile, "This place belongs to the master of the Forsaken Lands. Lu Qingyu, you came here with dense water qi. I also heard that the bottom of Baofeng Lake has been unusually calm recently. You didn't jump out to stir up trouble." His eyes lit up as he guessed the reason. "I didn't expect that the domineering Lu Qingyu of Baofeng Lake would come to the Forsaken Lands and seek refuge with Yushu." The eyes of the other three lit up when they heard his words. "So what if I did?" Lu Qingyu said coldly. "When you reached the 7th grade, the Goblin Temple sent people to Baofeng Lake." Chen Liangquan stood with his hands behind his back. He was fearless, facing a great demon whose battle prowess was equal to a Soul Wander Realm expert. "Why did you come to the Forsaken Lands when you rejected the Goblin Temple? Did the Azure Phoenix Empire mistreat you?" "Baofeng Lake isn't in the Azure Phoenix Empire, and I'm not a servant of the Azure Phoenix Empire," Lu Qingyu said. "In the eyes of the Chen clan, Baofeng Lake is the territory of the Azure Phoenix Empire." Chen Liangquan shook his head and explained seriously, "It's not just Baofeng Lake, the vast land to the south of the Azure Phoenix Empire." As he said this, he and the other three all had proud expressions on their faces, as if they were taking it for granted. The Chen, the Chen of the Azure Phoenix, was the Chen of the Azure Phoenix. As a disciple of the Chen clan, Chen Liangquan had already reached the middle stage of the Yin spirit realm before the age of 40. When he was young, he had been chosen by the 3 superior sects at the same time, and all of them had wanted to recruit him. The Empress of the Azure Phoenix had rejected all 3 high sections. In the end, Chen Liangquan had joined the Tianyuan continent's unranked Clarity sect. The sect had yet to give birth to a sun god, and the current sect master was only at the Soul Wander stage. In the Tianyuan continent, where experts were as common as the clouds, he could not even be ranked. Chen Liangquan's partner was the only daughter of the current sect master. She had a petite figure and was at the late stage of the subtle realm. Many people said that Chen Liangquan had begged Princess Qing Luan for his wife. He had rejected the 3 great sects' offers and joined the Clear Radiance sect without hesitation. When Chen Liangquan first joined the Clear Radiance sect, he was only at the early stage of the Shattering Realm. In less than 10 years, he had gone from the Shattering Realm to the Subtle Realm and then to the Yin Spirit Realm. Now that Chen Liangquan was at the mid-stage of the Yin Spirit Realm, he had a chance of becoming the first Yang spirit in the history of the Clear Radiance sect. Chen Liangquan rubbed his chin and thought for a moment. He suddenly said, "Wait for me for a moment." When these words sounded, he who came from Green Luan Empire suddenly shot towards the 7-colored miasma clouds like a ball of light. At this moment, there were many large holes above the 7-colored miasma, and a large amount of rich spiritual energy was pouring in. However, the colorful flames of the nether fire poison stream formation were extremely dense around the holes. They all contained a corrosive poison. Even a rank 7 great demon like Lu Qingyu would rot if she touched them. Chen Liangquan, don't seek death. The poison formation is protecting you, Lu Qingyu warned. Thank you for the information. Chen Liangquan, who had turned into a ball of light, smiled brightly and suddenly landed on the island through a large hole. Someone has entered. Old Xian, who had heard the news, saw a ball of light pierce through the holes and fall toward the island. He couldn't help but exclaim, "Lu Qingyu, who is he?" Chen Liangquan of the Azure Phoenix Empire's Chen clan, Lu Qingyu said. "It's him." Old Xian's expression changed slightly. After some time, he knew that the Chen clan member he had met at the Spirit Void sect's teleportation formation was Chen Liangquan. He was the most dazzling cultivation genius of the Azure Phoenix Empire's Chen clan before Chen Qingyan. Because of Princess Qing Luan, he had rejected the recruitment of the 3 high sects and became a controversial figure. "Chen Liangquan, how dare you set foot on that island?" Old Qian was shocked by Chen Liangquan's actions and felt that it was strange. He won't die in there, right? According to Old Qian's knowledge, Chen Liangquan was a family member that Princess Qing Luan cared about greatly. If Chen Liangquan died in the forbidden area, it would probably make Princess Qing Luan furious. The anger of that empress was not something that could be easily appeased. Even the Goblin Temple would have to give an explanation. Please, please don't die in there. If you die, it will be troublesome and difficult to deal with. Old Qian was worried. Zzzt. Specks of green and purple-red flames that contained acidic and corrosive power began to burn on Chen Liangquan's clothes. His clothes were burned to ashes before he even landed on the island. Then, he suddenly shone brightly. His naked body seemed to have turned into a condensed body of light energy in an instant, causing all of the poisonous flames and miasma to fall off of his body. A new set of clothes was draped over his body. Chen Liangquan floated down. With the help of a special soul accumulation pill, Qin Yun, who had long since recovered, was no longer on the island. On the island, only Yu Yuan, who was cultivating in the fiendish demon cauldron, and the Silver Moon Queen, who was at the bottom of the Crescent Moon Pool. Hoo. Under the seven-colored miasma, surging spiritual energy poured into the island. The dense mist of spiritual energy surged like a sea of clouds. Most of it flowed into the mouth of the fiendish demon cauldron, while a small portion was absorbed by the herbs planted on the island. Chen Liangquan tidied up his clothes, his eyes suddenly shining brightly. His eyes shone even brighter than the brightest diamond. Silver Moon Queen Liupan. The first thing he looked at was the Silver Moon Queen's divinity, which looked like a fish in the Crescent Moon Pool. Then, he looked at the exotic flowers and plants that covered the ground. I didn't expect to see herbs of this level in the abandoned lands, and they're growing so well. Chen Liangquan muttered to himself before looking at the fiendish demon cauldron. So it's not Master Yu Zhu who's cultivating it, but that kid from the Yu clan. Qin Yun, who had been standing still at first, suddenly moved around. He walked towards the Crescent Moon Pool and came to the edge of it. Looking at Li Yupan, who was sealed and suppressed at the bottom of the pool, he sighed and said, "I'm late." Boom. Chen Liangquan shone brightly again. Rays of pure, holy light that contained sword intent pierced towards the bottom of the Crescent Moon Pool. Thousands of strands of power suddenly clashed with each other on the surface of the Crescent Moon Pool, causing the water to glitter and shine with astonishing light. Chen Liangquan bent down and suddenly turned into a ray of light that pierced into the Crescent Moon Pool. Moments later, he dragged the Silver Moon Queen's divinity out of the Crescent Moon Pool. He pointed a finger at Li Yupan's forehead, countless spots of light bursting out of his fingertip. "Please wake up, Your Majesty." He pulled out wisps of memories from every corner of the island, as if he were peeling silk from cocoons. Those memories and soul imprints fused into Li Yupan's forehead one after another. The Silver Moon Queen's divinity, which had lost its intelligence, returned. The Empress's dull eyes once again became lively and full of vigor. The first thing Li Yupan said after waking up was, "Why are you so late?" Chapter 563. As soon as the Silver Moon Queen woke up, she looked like she was going to blame him. Her expression was cold, and her eyes were sharp. She didn't look friendly at all. It was as if she hadn't just colluded with Xin Feiqing, she had also made a secret agreement with this Chen clan disciple from the Azure Phoenix Empire. However, she hadn't seen Chen Liangquan during her most difficult time. "I was delayed by something important. I thought that you and the army commander would definitely be able to stabilize the situation in the desolate Forgotten Land. This is my fault. I'll explain it to you later." Chen Liangquan sighed softly, looking very regretful and helpless. "When I heard the bad news and wanted to rush over, the Goblin Temple, the Devil's Palace, and the three great sects all had their eyes fixed on this place. At that time, I didn't know what to do. Whether I came or not, it wouldn't change anything. He shook his head and took a step back. Then, his palm shone like the sun and the moon as it enveloped the crescent moon pool. Thousands of streaks of dazzling light poured from his palm into the pool, causing the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in this area to become extremely chaotic. Crackle! The streaks of dazzling light absorbed spiritual power and condensed into tiny lightning bolts that dashed across the crescent moon pool. The crescent moon pool gave rise to sizzling sounds as it was forcibly refined by him. The Yushu imprints within it were crushed one by one. In 10 minutes, all of the poisonous liquid on the surface of the pool had evaporated into smoke and merged into the 7-colored miasma above. The crescent moon pool had shrunk to about 10 times its original size, and was now only the size of his palm. Here. Chun Liangquan handed the pool to Li Yupan and said, "Use this to make up for the loss of the soul offering diagram. I'll make up for what I owe you later." The Silver Moon Queen, who had regained her intelligence, took a deep breath and absorbed all of the moonlight in the pool. Her illusory nether divinity suddenly showed signs of becoming corporeal. "This Yu Yuan." She looked at Yu Yuan, who was cultivating inside the baleful demon cauldron, and her eyes gradually grew cold. "We shouldn't stay here for long." Chun Liangquan shook his head and dispelled her killing intent. He said softly, "This cauldron is not ordinary. Yu Yuan is in the small world inside the cauldron, so it's not easy to touch him. In addition, he can control the nether fire poison stream formation. Inside the cauldron, there is a soul that even I feel is extraordinary. It should be the so-called fiendish demon." Li Yupan said, "He's a powerful fiend demon. Before she gained sentience, she hid in the crescent moon pool and passively accepted many things." When Yu Yuan and Qin Yun were cultivating on the island, when they released the fiendish demon named Consort Han and forced Wei Xian to retreat, she had watched in a daze. After waking up and gathering his memories, he remembered everything. After thinking about it for a while, she knew that Chun Liangquan was right. This island was quite strange. Yu Yuan had the scabbard in his hand, and he also had the sword spirit of that severing moon cultivator hidden deep within him. He would not be easy to kill. In addition, the fiendish demon cauldron, and the fiend demon with an icy aura made her somewhat wary. After all, she was only a Yin spirit right now and not her true body. If her true body and Yin spirit were one, she would not be afraid with her peak cultivation if she still had her treasures from the past. But now let's leave first. Chun Liangquan looked at Yu Yuan one last time, and then like a dazzling ray of light, he pierced through a large hole in the 7-colored miasma cloud. Li Yupan hid in the crescent moon pool and also flew towards the large hole in the miasma cloud. Chun Liangquan reached out and grabbed the small crescent moon pool. He shook his shoulders, and after sputtering the poisonous flames all over his body, he flew out. He landed beside his 3 companions and said with a smile, "The young master of the Yu family is cultivating on the island. There's nothing else." Lu Qingyu, who had come from Baofeng Lake, had a strange expression. Qian Lao also turned pale with fright. He had witnessed the power of the deep flame poison stream formation with his own eyes. It was unbelievable that Chun Liangquan, who was only at the middle Yin spirit stage, could enter and exit it unscathed. "Let's go. Let's go." Chun Liangquan held his female companion's hand and walked towards Spider City with a warm smile. The other couple asked curiously and followed them. Not long after the 4 left, Huoluo and the burly man named Lei Jiao arrived. The 2 7th-grade demons thought that Yutu had returned, which was why the island was filled with such mighty spiritual energy fluctuations. The person in charge of the Tongtian Trading Company in Spider City also suddenly arrived at the lake with Gao Qin and Jiang Yurong. The moment Zhu Painting arrived, she said in surprise, "Old Tong, is that Chun Liangquan just now here?" Qian Lao nodded and pointed at the island at the center of the lake, which was enveloped in 7-colored miasma cloud. Chen Liangquan went in and left unscathed. How can he ignore the deep flame poison stream formation? Gao Qin exclaimed. I don't know how he did it, but it's the truth, Qian Lao said. Do you want to take back Mount Yellow Necklace? Zhu Peining suddenly changed the topic. How about you, me, and one of my Chamber of Commerce members join forces and kill Liang Jingyin? Qian Lao shuddered. I couldn't ask for more. Liang Jingyin, the rogue cultivator, had never been on good terms with him. Now, he had occupied Mount Yellow Necklace. He was no match for Liang Jingyin alone after being severely injured in the Jade Pavilion. However, it would be a different story if Zhu Peining and another expert from the Chamber of Commerce joined forces. 3 days later, Yu Yuan suddenly flew out of the fiendish demon cauldron and landed on the island at the center of the 7-colored miasma cloud. He was completely naked. Sticky filth constantly flowed out of his pores. Fine streams of flesh aura flowed through his meridians. The sound of flesh aura flowing rumbled like a river bursting through a dam or a herd of beasts charging madly. His muscles bulged and contracted from time to time, changing constantly. Yu Yuan clenched his fists and adapted to the changes in his body. He felt the violent power of flesh aura moving through his blood, meridians, and organs. Late stage shattering profound realm. His eyes were bright and sparkling. They were incomparably dazzling at night on the island at the center of the lake. However, before he could carefully and seriously investigate the changes in his body, he discovered that the crescent moon pool had disappeared. Eh! He exclaimed softly. His figure flashed, bringing with it a terrifying wave of flesh aura, and arrived at the place where the crescent moon pool had been placed. Whoosh! A torrent of flesh aura caused by the momentum broke through the thick spirit energy and formed a domineering passage. Where's the pool? Where's the Silver Moon Queen's spirit? He frowned and looked around, but still didn't find anything unusual. You should have noticed. What happened? He used his mind to seek an answer from the cauldron's soul. A person called Chen Liangquan from the Chen clan of the Azure Phoenix Empire broke the deep flame poison flowing formation and broke in. The cauldron's soul transmitted. He refined the crescent moon pool and allowed the Silver Moon Queen to regain her intelligence. He took the Queen's spirit away. Chen Liangquan? Yu Yuan's eyebrows sank. Who is he? What's his cultivation base? He's only at the middle stage of the spirit stage, the cauldron's soul replied. How could a spirit break through the deep flame poison flowing formation and enter? Yu Yuan flew into a rage. If Chen Liangquan is a member of the Chen clan of the Azure Phoenix Empire, why did he save the Silver Moon Queen? I don't know about that. The cauldron's soul hesitated for a moment before it suddenly said, that Chen Liangquan gave me a very strange feeling. When he entered the island, he refined the crescent moon pool with dazzling light. Those light rays didn't come from his haunting acupoints, nor did they come from the lesser heaven and earth. Then where did they come from? Yu Yuan asked. The flesh and blood of his entire body, the cauldron's soul said. What do you mean? Yu Yuan was puzzled. As he spoke, he flipped the cauldron's mouth over and poured out the bones of the demonic beasts that had lost their vitality and power. After the bones of the demonic beasts that had lost their vitality and power of flesh and blood fell to the ground, they shattered. Chen Liangquan doesn't seem like an ordinary person, the cauldron's soul said. A demon. Yu Yuan cleaned up the fiendish demon cauldron and found it even stranger. How could a member of the Chen clan be a demon? That's not very likely. He's not a demon either. That person called Chen Liangquan gives me the feeling that he has the bloodline of a foreign race. A rare hybrid. Yu Yuan's expression changed. Chapter 564. Whoosh. Yu Yuan controlled the fiendish demon cauldron and flew out of the seven-colored miasma cloud, landing on the lake. Lu Qingyu, Huoluo, and Lei Jiao were all excited to see him. Yu Yuan. The Python Queen Su Zishi greeted him softly with a smile. Aunt Su. Yu Yuan, who had come out of the miasma island because of her, also smiled and walked up to her. Why are you here? The three level 7 demons looked at the Python Queen coldly. She was a human who practiced the Goblin Temple's secret arts and had extraordinary attainments in them. Su Zishi was equally indifferent to them. I have a favor to ask of you. Su Zishi frowned slightly and said impatiently, I came from the Goblin Temple, and I just told you that the Master of the Forgotten Lands isn't on the island. She's in the Goblin Temple right now. She won't be returning to the Forgotten Lands anytime soon. There's no point in waiting for her. After a pause, the Python Queen said to Yu Yuan, when she returns, she'll be able to ascend to the 8th level through the Desolation Forgotten Lands. Yu Yuan smiled. You too is trying to ascend to the 8th level? The 8th level of the demon race was equivalent to the Yang God realm of the human race. If you two reached the 8th level, her battle prowess would be greatly enhanced in this Forgotten Lands that were compatible with her. She would possess the strength of a 9th level demon. A 9th level demon was comparable to a Freedom Realm expert. What did that mean? The sect masters of the 7 inferior sects, the strongest experts of the Blood God sect, the Juling School, and the Heavenly Evil sect, were all at this level. Once you two reached the 8th level, as long as she stayed in the Desolation Forgotten Lands, the only things that could threaten her in Howren were the nascent divinities of the human race and the 10th level demon gods. Lu Qingyu, Huoluo, and Lei Jiao, who had come from other wondrous lands, all breathed heavily. The 3 level 7 demons looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. The Goblin Temple has done everything for her. Su Zishi took a deep breath, her face full of envy. After she returns from the Goblin Temple, she will use the wasteland that is compatible with her great Tao to raise her level to level 8. At that time, the Goblin Temple will lift the restriction rules of the remains and allow the Yang Spirit and the 8th level Great Demons to enter. Once you two reach the 8th level, she would be able to keep all Yang Gods and 8th level demons at her level in the Desolation Forgotten Land under check. She, who was in line with the laws of heaven and earth in the Lost Ground, was automatically promoted to be able to suppress the Yang God and the level 8 Great Demon. That Lu Qingyu, who had just returned from Baofeng Lake, was clearly much more cautious when facing Yu Yuan. She stammered for a moment before saying in a soft voice, Many powerful demons have poured in from the great lake of Desolate God and are slowly encroaching on the Forgotten Lands. One of the deep pools that I took a fancy to was already occupied by him. Huoluo and Lei Jiao also wore bitter faces. There are 9 powerful demons in total, all of them at level 7. They are leading their subordinates into the Lost Ground. We can't stop them. Huoluo, the young man in fiery red robes, sighed. Those 9 are loyal to the Desolate God to begin with. They are united against a common enemy. We are indeed no match for them. As he said these words, he sized up Yu Yuan and the Python Queen. The Desolate God's subordinates are wreaking havoc in the wasteland. What does Yu Yuan think? You, the Python Queen, represent the Goblin Temple, and you two is also a member of the Goblin Temple. What do you think? Huoluo wanted to know their opinions. 9 powerful demons. Yu Yuan's expression changed slightly. His eyes grew serious as he frowned and said in a deep voice, This is unusual. There can't be too many 7th level great demons in the Great Lake of Desolate God, can there? 9 of them entering the wasteland at the same time. Is this a provocation to the Goblin Temple? Huoluo, Lu Qingyu, and Lei Jiao all looked at Su Zishi. Su Zishi was silent for a while. Then, she said to Yu Yuan, I'm here for this. I'd like to hear more. Yu Yuan asked sincerely. This is not the place to talk. Suzishi glanced at Huoluo and the others. Yu Yuan, use the fiendish demon cauldron and give me a ride. We'll talk as we go. Where to? Yu Yuan nodded. In the direction of the great lake of desolate God, Suzishi said. Yu Yuan went blank for a moment. Then, he said, okay. He released the fiendish demon cauldron. After communicating with the cauldron's soul, he allowed the Python Queen to enter. The giant cauldron immediately flew into the sky. At the bottom of the lake, Lu Qingyu, Huoluo, and Lei Jiao watched the fiendish demon cauldron fly into the sky. They knew that Suzishi was deliberately avoiding them, but they couldn't do anything about it. The three of them were once valued by the Goblin Temple, but they all refused to join the Goblin Temple. Suzishi snorted coldly inside the cauldron. After joining the Goblin Temple, they will have to obey orders. They may even be arranged to work for the Goblin Temple. When they reach the 8th grade, they will have to follow the demon army and march into the outer space. With these words, a mocking smile appeared at the corner of the Python Queen's mouth. That's not right. If you serve the Goblin Temple, you don't have the right to know too much. Yu Yuan listened quietly. He controlled the fiendish demon cauldron and flew straight to the great lake of desolate God, as Suzishi had said. A moment later, he saw a crimson toad the size of a mountain in a mountain forest. Its cheeks were puffed out, and it was swallowing and spitting sunlight. Crimson flames flowed on the toad's back like rivers. There were dozens of smaller crimson toads in the mountain forest. They were imitating the toad and swallowing and spitting sunlight. Blazing sun toad. Yu Yuan looked down and exclaimed softly. Yes, a blazing sun toad from the great lake of desolate God, a 7th grade demon. Inside the cauldron, Suzishi looked at the clusters of demonic patterns in surprise. She was fascinated by the fiendish demon cauldron. Hearing him say this, she said, "This 7th grade blazing sun toad and its descendants are only one of them." The Python Queen withdrew her gaze from the demonic patterns on the cauldron wall. Her expression became serious. Lu Qingyu and the others were here just now. I have something to say. Please speak. Yu Yuan was all ears. According to the Goblin Temple statistics, there are a total of 18 demons that have reached the 7th grade in the Great Lake of Desolate God. Suzishi's eyes were bright. There are 3 demons that have reached the 8th grade. The last one has the strength of a 9th grade demon, and they are all loyal to the Desolate God. Yu Yuan was shocked. I didn't expect the Desolate God to have such strength. 18 7th grade demons were equivalent to 18 Soul Wander Realm Expert. 3 8th grade demons were equivalent to 3 Sun Spirit. 1 9th grade demon was equivalent to a Freedom Realm Expert. This strength was much stronger than the strength Yu Yuan understood in his previous life. The Great Lake of Desolate God 300 years later had a strong army. It was much stronger than the so-called 7 lower sects, the Heavenly Evil Sect, and the Juling School. The demons of Howren are naturally led by the Goblin Temple and the Goblin Temple. 60 to 70% of the strongest demons are in the Goblin Temple. However, there are still a few scattered outside. The Python Queen gazed at the Great Lake of Desolate God. Outside of the Goblin Temple, the place with the most demons is the Great Lake of Desolate God. But now those 18 7th grade demons, 3 8th grade demons, and 1 9th grade demon have all left the Great Lake of Desolate God. Only 9 7th grade demons have entered the wasteland. The rest are scattered in the empires of the Qian continent. The 3 8th grade demons have either dived into the deep sea or hid in places that even the Goblin Temple can't control. The only level 9 great demon left the vast heaven and earth and disappeared into the outer heavens. The Python Queen shouted. Yu Yuan's heart trembled. Is there a problem in the Great Lake of Desolate God? If there were no other demons wandering outside and only entering the wasteland, he would think that it was the Desolate God who attacked you two, a demon junior, and took the opportunity to plunder the spirit chi of the wasteland. However, if all the high-level demons had left the wasteland, then something was wrong. According to the information from the Goblin Temple, all the demons that left were ordered to leave by the desolate god. Suzishi's expression was serious. No one knows the reason. The Goblin Temple sent a 7th-grade emissary. The moment he stepped into the Great Lake, he exploded into a bloody mist and died on the spot. Furthermore, all the demons who were above the 6th level or the Een Master level during the trial in the Great Desolate God Swamp were chased away. The 7th-grade demons and soul wanderers are no longer allowed to move in the Great Lake of Desolate God. Those who enter rashly will end up like our emissary. They will be killed by the Desolate God in an instant. After saying this, Suzishi stopped to let Yu Yuan digest it. After a long time, Yu Yuan said, "The Goblin Temple wants to know what happened in the Great Lake of Desolate God?" "Yes." Suzishi was slightly embarrassed. The Desolate God is very hostile to the Goblin Temple, and doesn't allow those who are too powerful to enter. Also, the Goblin Temple wants to ask you to go to the Great Lake of Desolate God to see what's going on inside and find out the real reason for the Desolate God's irritable behavior. Me? Yu Yuan was speechless. Suzishi nodded heavily. Chapter 565. The fiendish demon cauldron stopped when it passed by Spider City. Looking down, Yu Yuan found that the new city around the teleportation formation was almost twice as large as the last time he saw it. On the enlarged part, a huge silk banner fluttered in the wind. On the banner, there was a 7-colored staircase that extended into the cloud-filled sky. This was the unique symbol of the Tongtian Trading Company. Under the banner, the tall buildings looked like swords that pierced the sky. They gave off a fierce aura that dared to pierce through the sky and ignore the rules of the realm. Many cultivators from the 7 great sects, the empires of Qianxian continent, and the Tranquil continent were under the tall buildings. There were also some wandering cultivators. They went in and out of the pavilions, either to sell their precious spirit materials and herbs, or to buy things they needed. Because the fiendish demon cauldron floated in the sky above Spider City, those with sharp senses looked up. Rays of bright light burst out from the eyes of those people. The auras that they had been hiding suddenly surged out. For a time, Spider City was filled with divine light and strange power. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Wisps of pure soul awareness shot into the sky and rushed towards the fiendish demon cauldron from different areas of Spider City. Yu Yuan narrowed his eyes and sensed with the fiendish demon cauldron. He knew that the wisps of soul awareness came from the Spirit Void sect, the Frost Een sect, and the Lightning sect. There were also a few wisps of soul awareness that were obscure. They purposely hid their positions and auras, making it difficult to identify. Yu Yuan guessed wrong. Those wisps of auras didn't belong to the 7 great sections. They might be from the empires or the Tranquil continent. Spider City wasn't Sky Span Island or Flying Cloud Island. There was no restriction on flying. Superior cultivators could fly with their weapons, soar with their own strength, and travel with their Een spirit. None of these were prohibited and were allowed to do so. However, most cultivators, including the demons, would give face to the Goblin Temple and wouldn't dare to do anything. The huge cauldron floating in the sky naturally attracted many people's attention. It was normal for them to release their soul awareness to probe. Humph! Inside the cauldron, Suzishi stuck her head out and snorted coldly. Pythons as thick as giant dragons suddenly slithered out of her body and appeared above the fiendish demon cauldron for a brief moment before she quickly withdrew them. The moment the giant python soared into the sky, Suzishi's demonic aura was boundless. The rolling demonic energy, spirit energy, and blood mixed together, binding the sky of Spider City. The python coiled in the air, its demonic aura intimidating the surroundings. Python Queen! Goblin Temple! Suzishi! The probing soul consciousnesses all retracted. The wasteland belonged to the Goblin Temple. This was recognized by all large clans and empires, and was fought for by the future god Yu Zhu. Everyone knew that Su Zixin, as a human, cultivated the spiritual arts and secret techniques of the Goblin Temple. Su Zixi, who represented the Goblin Temple, was high up in the sky. Who dared to refuse? On the Tongtian Trading Company's side, Gao Qin flew up on his sword. When he was about to reach the fiendish demon cauldron, he hurriedly came to a stop. Gao Qin cupped his fists and bowed, saying, "Young Master Yu, unfortunately, the person in charge of my company isn't in Spider City right now. He had gone to the island at the center of the lake and specially invited him, saying that Zhu Painting wanted to talk. Yu Yuan had agreed to meet the person in charge of the company in Spider City after he left the island. However, Zhu Painting really wasn't here at the moment. Yu Yuan. That person is the best friend of the Master of the Wasteland? Best friend? No one can truly explain the relationship between the two of them to this day. Many of the cultivators in Spider City had deduced Gao Qin's identity because he called him Young Master Yu. Looking at the floating cauldron that was emitting a mysterious magic energy halo, how could they not know who the newcomer was? So it's Young Master Yu. On the Spirit Void Sect's side, the woman, Lu Xiao, who had sensed with her soul thought, chuckled. She flew into the sky with her true body and stood beside Gao Qin. She said to Yu Yuan, who was only showing his head in the cauldron, "I didn't know that Young Master Yu had returned the last time. I've neglected you, really neglected you. Please forgive me." Yu Yuan waved his hand. "You're welcome. I have something to ask." "Go ahead." Lu Xiao was very straightforward, saying, "The Spirit Void Sect has said that as long as it's Young Master Yu, you can use our spatial teleportation array to travel to and from the wasteland. We won't charge you a single cent." "They're really too polite." Yu Yuan was puzzled. He had no relationship with the Spirit Void Sect. The personal disciple of Wang Jinlin, the Skysoar spiritual master, had died in the wasteland before the Spirit Qi had recovered. It was related to him. Why would the Spirit Void Sect deliberately want to be on good terms with him? It's only right. The Python Queen Su Zixi expression was cold. The wasteland is Miss Yu Zhu's private territory. It belongs to the Goblin Temple. The Spirit Void Sect built a spatial teleportation array in the wasteland. Yu Zhu will take 30% of the harvest. You can use their teleportation array to travel to and from the wasteland. You can take it as a bonus if you don't pay. She didn't seem to have a good impression of Lu Xiao. Moreover, she didn't avoid this point. Sister Su is right. It's only right. Lu Xiao was still smiling. "Young Master Yu, what do you want to ask?" "I will not hide anything from you as long as I know. Did Chen Liangquan and his group of 4 from the Azure Phoenix Empire leave?" Yu Yuan asked. "They've been gone for a while." Lu Xiao nodded and said with certainty, "It's easy to recognize Chen Liangquan. I've been paying attention for a long time. When they left, I noticed them." "They've already left." Yu Yuan felt a little regretful. He wondered what this Qin clan disciple with a strange identity would do after taking away the Silver Moon Queen's Yin spirit. He was thinking that if Chen Liangquan hadn't left, he would meet this person for a while. "Young Master Yu, are you old friends with Chen Liangquan?" Lu Xiao asked curiously. Yu Yuan shook his head and didn't say anything. Just as he was about to tell Su Zixi that everything was fine, he suddenly noticed that Elder Wei Xian had appeared in the frigid insect's pavilion. Their eyes met. Wei Xian grinned and said with a sinister smile, "Hello, Brother Yu. We meet again." His words were cold and filled with killing intent. Anyone who had reached a certain level of cultivation could tell from Wei Xian's words that there was a conflict between the two of them. "Yes, we meet again." Yu Yuan smiled. "Senior, you seem to have suffered a little at the lake last time. Sigh, you're already so old, but you're running away in such a sorry state. It's quite heartbreaking to see you." Wei Xian's face was so cold that it seemed to be frozen. With a snort, he turned around and returned to his pavilion. After the incident, he had made some inquiries and confirmed that Yu Zhu wasn't on the island at the center of the lake. He had also learned from other sources that even Lu Qingyu, a 7th-grade demon, had been injured by Yu Yuan on the island at the center of the lake. What Yu Yuan had used was the nether flame poison flowing formation, which was hidden in the 7-colored miasma clouds. It was Yu Zhu's trump card. No matter how foolish Wei Xian was, there was no way he could have known that the person who had summoned the ice storm and forced him to flee in panic was none other than Yu Yuan. Some of the Frost Soul frigid crystals had been broken off while he was running away, which made him very worried even now. Of course he held a grudge against Yu Yuan. It was only because Su Zishi and Yu Yuan were both in the baleful demon cauldron, and because they were in the desolate abandoned land, where many people were watching, that he didn't act rashly. Wei Xian of the frigid dark sect. The corner of Su Zishi's mouth twitched, a disdainful look on her face. If he dares to do anything to you in the abandoned land, the frigid dark sect will be kicked out and never allowed to set foot here again. Gao Qin, I'll come see Senior Zhu next time. With these words, Yu Yuan once again controlled the baleful demon cauldron and left Spider City like a cluster of black clouds. It wasn't long before he met the person in charge of the Chamber of Commerce on Mount Yellow Jade. What's going on? Su Zishi looked at the heaven-shaking, earth-shaking battle on Mount Yellow Jade with an incomparably strange expression. What are they fighting about? Yu Yuan was also surprised. Why are there grand demons involved in this battle? Under the scorching sun, the bare Mount Yellow Jade shook violently as rays of divine light and demonic energy interweaved. Among them, Old Copper, who was controlling the dilapidated Jade Pavilion, was actually the weakest. Old Copper's Jade Pavilion was being forcefully slapped by a golden-striped beast that was almost 300 meters tall and had revealed its true form. This golden-striped beast wasn't the one Yu Yuan had killed before. It should be the Beast King of the golden-striped beasts. Its entire body was entwined by golden arcs of lightning. With every move it made, heaven and earth changed color. Terrifying demonic energy and blood aura surged through the air in a deafening manner. The dilapidated Jade Tower was overflowing with golden and jade light as the giant golden-striped beast slammed its huge paw down on it. The bejeweled jade palaces were on the verge of collapse. Cracking sounds could be heard from the jade palaces that were covered in cracks. Copper coins were hanging from old Qian Tong's clothes, and the light was dim. His expression was gloomy as he grimaced and cried out in pain. Zhu Painting of the Tongtian Trading Company had actually joined forces with old Demon Huang, whom Yu Yuan knew, to attack a cultivator sitting at the peak of Mount Yellow Jade. That cultivator was holding a pagoda in his hand. He was fighting 1 against 2 and was slightly at a disadvantage. Also on Mount Yellow Jade, there was a grand demon eyeing him covetously. Chapter 566. The great demon also revealed its true form and perched on a peach tree. Its body was enveloped in a ball of bright golden light. The size of this demon was not even worth mentioning compared to the golden-striped beast. However, the blood energy released from its body stirred up the surrounding spirit energy like a flood. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A huge spirit energy whirlpool with demonic light burning like fire faintly wrapped around the peach tree. The peach tree was unaffected by the spirit energy and the violent demonic light. Within the ball of golden light, the great demon gradually appeared and turned into a scarlet sparrow. The great demon in the form of a bird sneered when it saw Su Zishi emerge from the fiendish demon cauldron. The golden light retracted its wings and it nodded towards Su Zishi with its sharp beak. It spoke in a pleasant human language, "Greetings to the Python Queen of the Goblin Temple." Golden Blaze Bird, Yu Yuan exclaimed after seeing its true form. The most common golden blaze bird was only a grade 3 demon beast. This kind of strange bird was born with the ability to refine fine gold and merge it with demon blood to increase its cultivation. The path of advancement of the golden blaze bird had always been difficult. Those that could cultivate to grade 7 had consumed countless gold and iron mines. This golden blaze bird was a grade 7 great demon and should have also taken a fancy to Yellow Jew Mountain. That grade 7 golden striped beast and this golden blaze bird could both rely on the mines at the bottom of Yellow Jew Mountain to cleanse and refine their demon bodies. Yellow Jew Mountain should be able to help them become stronger again, so they came to participate. This golden striped beast had the best personal relationship with the golden blaze bird among the great demons that had come from the desolate god Great Lake and wanted to cooperate with the Yellow Jew Mountain. Yu Yuan, Old Coin, who was constantly being hit by the golden striped beast's jade tower, was overjoyed. He shouted loudly and controlled the jade tower to rush towards the large cauldron. The eyes of the golden-patterned beast that was 1,000 feet tall and surrounded by a golden divine light burst forth with golden lightning. Boom! Streaks of golden light turned into totem poles of the demon race that rose from the ground beneath its feet. There were a total of 7 totem poles, all of which were made from a mixture of pure gold and blood energy. The golden light was dazzling and the demonic energy was overwhelming. Its golden eyes were filled with ruthlessness and savagery. It beat its chest and roared angrily. Roar! 7 golden totem pillars suddenly soared into the sky as if they were going to split the heavens and earth apart and smash the world's walls and rivers. Bang bang bang! The jade palace refined by old Copper Chien instantly fell apart under the impact of the 7 towering golden pillars. The copper coins and jade bricks were broken into pieces. Old Money Copper reluctantly put them back into his sleeve with the great Tao of metal that he had comprehended. The copper coins and jade stones disappeared one by one like pebbles. Old Tong, who was in the form of an old official, looked as if his parents had died. He floated beside the cauldron and wailed, "Brother you have to uphold justice for me." Just as the 7 totem poles were about to continue to surround and kill Old Tong, Suzishi said coldly, "That's enough." The mountainous golden striped beast on the ground seemed to wake up for a moment because of her words. The 7 totem poles no longer continued to stare at the old copper coin. Under Yu Yuan's gaze, they rapidly shrank and turned into 7 slender needles. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that they were 7 slender golden bones. The 7 bones fell into the golden striped beast and disappeared into its enormous body. The 7 totem poles refined from my own demon bones contain the golden striped beast's innate ability. They are indeed extraordinary. Old Copper Chien still had lingering fear. He wiped his sweat and said, "Brother you, oh brother you promised me this yellow jade mountain. Who knew that it would suddenly become so popular that everyone is fighting over it? Liang Jingyin is one thing, but there are 2 other great demons." He glanced at the golden striped beast that had quieted down and the motionless golden blaze bird that had stopped on the peach branch. He sighed. "I can't live like this anymore. I'm so bitter, I'm too bitter." "Shut up," Suzishi scolded. Old Copper Chien smiled bitterly and cupped his hands towards her as a greeting. But there was no respect on his face. That greeting was also very perfunctory. They were all at the Soul Wander realm. You, Suzishi, were just lucky enough to be accepted by the Goblin Temple. You cultivated demon arts as a human and walked on a different path. Without the support of the Goblin Temple, would you dare to reprimand me like this in another strange place? Old Copper Chien was not convinced. On the peak of Yellow Jade Mountain, the rogue cultivator Liang Jingyin had a focused expression as he controlled the 5-story golden pagoda. The pagoda stood above his head. After enlarging, it was as tall as another Yellow Jade Mountain. It emitted a dazzling golden light that was as sharp as a sword. It blocked old demon Huang and Zhu painting of the Tongtian Trading Company outside the golden light. Liang Jingyin, who was under the pagoda, was like a hard rock that had been on the mountain for thousands of years. He did not move at all. No matter how old demon Huang attacked with his yellow gourd or how Zhu Peining stabbed him with her spear flags, Liang Jingyin was indifferent. Liang Jingyin even had the time to look at the level 7 golden blaze bird, as if to guard against its sneak attack. I'm afraid that old Copper Qian won't be able to take back this yellow jade mountain. She looked for a while, and found that the golden pagoda could withstand the attacks of old demon Huang and Zhu Peining. She pondered for a moment and said, "This rogue cultivator is very difficult to deal with. I don't think the Chamber of Commerce can do anything to him. The pagoda has already merged with the mineral vein under the yellow jade mountain. The mountain has become part of Liang Jingyin's body." Hearing this, old Copper Qian's face turned even uglier. "Are you hiding your belongings under the yellow jade mountain?" Yu Yuan asked curiously. Old Copper Qian hesitated for a moment and nodded gently. He sighed and said, "Before I left the barren abandoned lands, I left a lot of good things under the yellow jade mountain. I even asked an expert to engrave a formation that can gather the power of metal. After the spirit chi of the abandoned lands recovered, the yellow jade mountain was able to quickly gather the power of metal and form the gold and iron ore veins because of the formation. No wonder other than Liang Jingyin, 2 other great yaos were attracted." Yu Yuan understood the reason. "You made a wedding dress for others for nothing." She sneered. "Don't think about it, it's too late. I think Liang Jingyin is planning to use this yellow jade mountain to seek a breakthrough in the sun spirit realm." After a pause, she said softly, "There should be another expert looking after it in secret." "What do you mean?" Old Copper Qian suddenly understood. Yu Yuan also frowned. However, Zhu Peining of the Tongtian Trading Company couldn't take it down after a long time. She simply gave up and flew to the evil demon cauldron with the banner. "Liang Jingyin is valued by the Spirit Void sect. When he successfully condenses the Sun Spirit in the Yellow Jade Mountain, the Spirit Void sect will officially accept him and give him the status of a guest." "So that's how it is!" Old Copper Qian shouted. "I knew it. How could Liang Jingyin unearth the secret of the Yellow Jade Mountain so quickly and occupy the mountain? The Spirit Void sect has been operating in the barren abandoned lands for many years and Sky Sorgenren is here. He must have seen through my arrangements in the Yellow Jade Mountain. Liang Jingyin's return to occupy the Yellow Jade Mountain may be the arrangement of the Spirit Void sect." "Spirit Void sect, you conspired against my territory and took my things as a favor. I can't take this lying down." Old Copper Qian shouted and pointed in the direction of Spider City, cursing angrily. The old devil riding the yellow gourd also flew over after Zhu Peining left. A year ago, he had returned with old Copper Qian and Qi Hongyi to plot against the dark domain Azura Skull. When he saw Yu Yuan, his attitude was unprecedentedly respectful. "Greetings, young Master Yu." Zhu Peining was secretly surprised. Old Devil Huang was a mutant recruited by the Tongtian Trading Company. His cultivation level was the same as hers. Even she was afraid of his demonic soul art. If Liang Jingyin hadn't refined the underground mine of the Yellow Jade Mountain, his combat strength would have been enhanced and he had the pagoda in his hand. She felt that he might not be old Devil Huang's match. Similarly, she felt that old Copper Qian and even the Python Queen might not be old Devil Huang's match. However, this old devil, who had been recognized by the Tongtian Trading Company as an itinerant cultivator, was actually a little fearful in front of Yu Yuan. The old devil hadn't even been like this when he faced the young gods of the Chamber of Commerce. Why was he so afraid of Yu Yuan? Zhu Peining couldn't understand and didn't know the reason. Everyone present, including old Copper Qian, the Python Queen, and Yu Yuan himself, didn't know the reason. Only old Devil Huang himself knew. Old Devil Huang, who had entered the small world in the dark domain Azura's eyes with his soul, saw a lot of things. He had seen with his own eyes a huge phantom soul fly out of Yu Yuan's body and turn the situation around, changing everything. It could be said that if that huge phantom soul hadn't come out, the barren world of the abandoned land wouldn't be like it was now. Every time old Devil Huang thought of the huge phantom soul that had only appeared in the small world in the dark domain Azura's eyes, he felt his soul tremble and a bone-deep fear. It was because of this that old Devil Huang, the strongest of the three great demons, was the most respectful when facing Yu Yuan. Long time no see. You've joined the Tongtian Trading Company? Yu Yuan saw that he was so uneasy and smiled. No need to be so reserved. The matter of the abandoned land is already over. You'll still be my senior in the future. I wouldn't dare. Old Devil Huang, who was riding the yellow gourd, hurriedly bowed, looking flattered and uneasy. I'm tired of the Chamber of Commerce's warm invitation, so I'm looking for a place to shelter myself from the wind and rain. With the Chamber of Commerce's spiritual materials, I can focus on my cultivation and have hope of improving. Yu Yuan, old Devil Huang will also be in the abandoned land in the future. Can you? Zhu Peining asked. Yu Yuan laughed and glanced at the Python Queen, Suzishi. Miss Yu Zhu has the final say in this world. The Goblin Temple won't interfere, Suzishi said seriously. Then there shouldn't be a problem, Yu Yuan said. Old Devil Huang and Zhu Peining thanked him together. Then, Zhu Peining said, if you can't find a buyer for the Yu clan's medicinal herbs, I can buy them on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. The price won't be lower than the market price. Yu Yuan nodded, then looked at Mount Huang and Liang Jingyin. Liang Jingyin stood up and smiled calmly. He cupped his hands and said, this old man is Liang Jingyin, a wandering cultivator. I've long heard of young Master Yu's name. Please take care of me. I will. When Yu Zhu returns, she'll definitely take good care of you, Yu Yuan said with a chuckle. You'd better succeed in condensing your yang spirit before she returns. Otherwise, all of your advantages in Yellow Ju Mountain will be completely lost because of her return to the lost ground. Liang Jingyin's expression suddenly turned cold. I'll remember that. Chapter 567. There was a strange formation in the underground veins of Mount Huangjue that gathered spiritual energy and condensed the power of gold and iron. Liang Jingyin, a rogue cultivator, chose this place. With the help of the experts of the Spirit Void sect, he seized control of the underground veins with himself and the pagoda. During the battle, Liang Jingyin would seize spiritual energy from the underground veins and the power of the gold and iron to strengthen the pagoda. The underground veins constantly gathered spiritual energy in the abandoned land, allowing Liang Jingyin to always be replenished during the battle. It was like a pool of water that would never dry up. The 5-story pagoda hung above Mount Huangjue and could continue to release golden divine light. Under the attacks of Zhu Peining and old demon Huang, the light did not weaken, which was a great proof. Liang Jingyin, who had clearly offended the Tongtian Trading Company, still dared to cultivate in Mount Huangjue because of this. He also wanted to use the refined iron veins at the bottom of Mount Huangjue to refine the pagoda and transform his heaven soul into a yang spirit. Zhu Peining, old demon Huang, and old Tong couldn't do anything to him. Due to the rules set by the Goblin Temple, the other sects and forces couldn't arrange for yang spirits to enter, so they couldn't do anything to him. However, once you two returned, everything could be reversed. As the master of the abandoned land, you two could tamper with the flow and surge of spiritual energy, dry up the veins at the bottom of Mount Huangjue, and make Liang Jingyin get lost in the abandoned land. The only thing Liang Jingyin could do was condense his yang spirit in a short time and escape before you two returned. Otherwise, what awaited him would be disaster. You and you. Su Zixuan, who was inside the cauldron, pointed at the golden-striped beast and the golden blaze bird on the peach branch and said, If you want to plot against Mount Huangjue, you have to invite more great demons. The bird that seemed to be burning with golden flames giggled. Thank you for your reminder, Manqueen. We understand. As soon as it finished speaking, it landed on the 100-feet-tall golden-striped beast. It stopped on the golden-striped beast's shoulder, as small as a mosquito. Since we know that this rogue cultivator has someone backing him, we know a lot more. The golden-striped beast's violet eyes were completely clear the moment it landed. It was as if the golden blaze bird could calm the berserk beast soul of the golden-striped beast, allowing it to regain its intelligence at all times. In the Forgotten Lands, we will follow the rules set by the Goblin Temple. The golden-striped beast suddenly spoke, his voice rumbling through the sky. Python Queen, let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better not inquire about the Great Swamp. Dong. Dong dong. The golden-striped beast strode forward. Every step it took shook the earth and mountains. Sitting on its shoulder, the golden blaze bird looked back at the baleful demon cauldron and spoke with a pleasant voice. When the desolate god is enraged, no living being can calm him down. Gradually, the golden-striped beast turned into a ball of golden light and left Yellow Jade Mountain. Zhu Painting frowned. Suzishi, you want to go to the desolate god Great Lake? The Tongtian Trading Company was well informed and also knew about the drastic changes in the Great Swamp. The Chamber of Commerce also wanted to know what was going on inside, so they secretly arranged for those who entered to explode and die immediately. Zhu Painting knew very well how terrifying the desolate god of the Great Swamp was, especially when it was angry and irrational. It's not me. Suzishi shook her head and immediately looked at Yu Yuan. She smiled and looked a little embarrassed. The Goblin Temple asked him to go deep into the Great Swamp of the desolate god. He is far from reaching the Soul Wander realm. As long as he doesn't release the cauldron, he shouldn't alarm the desolate god in the Great Swamp. No. Qian Lao exclaimed. Zhu Painting shook her head and said to Yu Yuan, it's too dangerous. Yu Yuan said, I agree. Brother Yu, what if you don't come back after going to the Great Swamp of the desolate god? Qian Lao was very worried about this. Without you, the master of the ancestral lands won't care about me. I'll send a message to Miss Yu Zhu. The Python Queen said. You? Qian Lao obviously didn't trust him. All right, I've already agreed. Yu Yuan felt that there was no need to tell Qian Lao and Zhu Painting anything. Seeing the rogue cultivator Liang Jingyin retreating back into Yellow Jade Mountain, he said, continue to try and see if you can force him away. There's no need for you to worry about my matters. After saying this, the fiendish demon cauldron flew away again. On the way from the Lake Heart Island to the Great Swamp of the desolate god, Yu Yuan saw many great demons and saw many battles. The foreign evil cultivators, the cultivators of the 7 great sects, and the rogue cultivators like Liang Jingyin were all fighting with the high-level demons and low-level demonic beasts in the Great Swamp of the desolate god. Suzishi said that the Goblin Temple was happy to see those demons and demonic beasts camp in the desolate lands. The great demons like the golden-striped beast, the golden blaze bird, and the blazing sun toad were subjects in the eyes of the Goblin Temple, even if they originally obeyed the orders of the desolate god. Demonic beasts and demons roamed the desolate lands. The Goblin Temple would never expel these powerful demons. The Goblin Temple also felt that when Yu Zhu, the master of the desolate lands, returned, she might be able to tame and subdue the previously arrogant demons and demonic beasts. It was not impossible to snatch some great demons from the hands of the desolate god. Therefore, as long as it was a demon or a demonic beast, no matter where they came from, the Goblin Temple would gladly accept them, allowing them to fight with the 7 great sects in the desolate lands and seize the wondrous land rich in spiritual energy. Suzishi told Yu Yuan that although the Goblin Temple had set a rule that forbade young gods and level 8 great demons from entering, if a great demon advanced in the desolate lands and was loyal to Yu Zhu, the Goblin Temple would treat them as one of their own. The Goblin Temple would accept any great demon that was willing to submit and reach level 8. Of course, humans were not allowed. A few days later, the fiendish demon Cauldron left the desolate lands and arrived at Heavenly Might's sacred city, the closest city to the desolate lands. Last time, Yu Yuan rode the silver rainbow demonic shuttle and flew over the sky above Heavenly Might's sacred city. At a remote village, she brought Su Yen along and headed to the Stardust Sea region to train together. This was his second time passing by Heavenly Might's sacred city. The fiendish demon Cauldron did not act presumptuously and flew directly over Heavenly Might's sacred city. The desolate god Great Lake was to the east of the Divine Might Empire, and he was just passing by Heavenly Might's sacred city. He glanced inside the fiendish demon Cauldron and found that many cultivators in Heavenly Might's sacred city had gathered together and were heading out of the city as if to participate in the battle. There's a great demon entrenched in the forest outside the city and injured many people. Seeing his surprised expression, the Python Queen explained, only 9 level 7 great demons entered the desolate lands. The rest are wandering around the various empires and wondrous lands. The desolate lands are not suitable for all great demons. Some of the great demons outside are naturally violent and can't control themselves. They are prone to causing trouble. Yu Yuan nodded. If a level 7 great demon is active in the various empires, the emperors will have a headache too, right? A great demon that was equivalent to the Soul Wander realm and came from the desolate god Great Lake, obeying the orders of that terrifying great demon. The empires of the Qian continent would have to deal with it. Who isn't it? Su Zishi sighed faintly. They are all begging the Goblin Temple, asking the Goblin Temple to come out and restrain the great demons. But the Goblin Temple doesn't have the energy to capture the demons of the desolate god Great Lake. The Goblin Temple thinks that the great demons going to the desolate lands is the best outcome. As she spoke, the fiendish demon Cauldron left Heavenly Might's sacred city and continued to head towards the desolate god Great Lake. After a period of time, Yu Yuan saw more demons causing trouble. They were only level 5 and level 6 demons, appearing in many villages and fighting with the cultivators of the various cities and families. The desolate god Great Lake was in trouble, and the demons and monsters were ordered to leave, causing a beast riot in the Qian continent. A few more days passed. Su Zishi asked Yu Yuan to stop. She pointed at the Great Lake in the distance and said, "This is it. If I go any further, I will die." Yu Yuan looked and nodded lightly. "Take care." Su Zishi jumped down from the cauldron. Yu Yuan smiled and put the fiendish demon Cauldron into his Zigong meridian. Chapter 568. The desolate god Great Lake had many lakes and low mountains. This place was in the middle of the Divine Might Empire and the Hui Yao Empire. Countless demonic beasts were hiding inside, and with the abundant spiritual energy, it nurtured many strange and rare medicinal herbs. The desolate god was a level 10 demon god. He had fused with the Great Lake and shocked the entire Hauran. In his previous life, Yu Yuan also knew that the most suitable place to grow herbs in the Qian continent was not the beefing mountain range, but the Great Lake of the desolate god. Unfortunately, with the desolate god here, the medicine god sect could not touch it. In his previous life, he and the medicine god sect did not have much interaction with the Great Lake of the desolate god. Only once or twice had he been accompanied by a great cultivator to explore the great swamp. However, when he wanted to go deeper, he was warned by the desolate god that the powerful cultivator accompanying him was too powerful. He was not allowed to enter and could only leave. The desolate god had a mysterious origin and was very xenophobic. The desolate god did not have a good impression of the 3 superior sects, the Goblin Temple and the Devil's Palace. He never made friends with them and would not leave the Great Lake easily. In his previous life, Yu Yuan did not enter the path of cultivation. In his limited lifespan, he had never heard of the desolate god leaving the great lake of the desolate god. Generations of sect masters of the medicine god sect had coveted the great lake of the desolate god. They wanted to acquire it or make friends with the desolate god to grow rare herbs. Unfortunately, the desolate god did not care about the medicine god sect's effort. In the blink of an eye, 300 years had passed. Yu Yuan, who was reborn as a human, stepped on the path of cultivation. He did not enter the Great Lake as an alchemist but as a cultivator. Whoosh! After officially entering the great desolate deity lake, Yu Yuan's heart skipped a beat as soon as her feet touched the ground. A look of horror suddenly appeared on his face. The sword soul that had been dormant in his arms for a long time suddenly woke up the moment he stepped into the great lake of the desolate god. Ever since Nye Tian had used his arm bone to fuse with the remaining sword light in the scabbard in the desolation abandoned land, the dark realm Azura's remnant consciousness had been completely wiped out, and his sword soul had been in a deathly state for a long time. He could only vaguely sense the sword soul when he was quietly cultivating and tempering his heavenly soul with the extreme intelligent soul tempering technique. Even when he threatened the Chaos Kuan at the bottom of the Starash Sea region, he'd taken out the sword sheath and borrowed a little bit of the sword soul's aura to make the Chaos Kuan not dare to act rashly. Later on, when he used the power of the scabbard, the sword soul only exerted a small amount of power. Most of the time, he used the sword soul's aura to release the sword light contained in the scabbard to resolve his crisis. Today, the cold current at the bottom of the scabbard had disappeared, and there was not much sword light left. Almost all of the sword spirits were in hiding. Suddenly, the sword spirit seemed to be awakened from its slumber. What was going on? Shocked, Yu Yuan immediately withdrew his mind and consciousness, holding his breath to sense. Somehow, there seemed to be a thread that was connected to the sword soul in his arm bone. Somewhere in the desolate god Great Swamp, there seemed to be something that alarmed the sword spirit, causing it, who had been hiding for a long time, to suddenly wake up for a moment. It was also for a moment. In the next moment, the sword spirit in his arm bone, in a way that Yu Yuan had never felt before, hid even deeper. It was so deep that even Yu Yuan himself could not smell that there was still a wisp of the sword spirit in his arm bone. He focused his mind and looked inside, and found an even more unbelievable spectacle. The crisscrossing sword marks and sword seals that were engraved on his arm bone had faded a lot. Almost at the same time, the evil demon cauldron that he had placed in his Zigong acupoint, the cauldron soul that was hidden deep inside also temporarily cut off contact with Yu Yuan, hiding as deep as the sword spirit. Just when he was at a loss, he suddenly raised his head to look at the sky. The clear sky of the desolate god Great Swamp was originally intoxicating, but in the next second, the blue sky suddenly turned gray. The boundless blue sky changed in an instant, as if it was covered by a gray curtain. Immediately, there was a fleeting consciousness that was everywhere, in the sky, in the depths of the earth, in every corner of the desolate god Great Swamp, quietly emerged. Yu Yuan opened his mouth wide, suddenly feeling that he had nowhere to hide, that he was stripped naked from head to toe, carefully probed. This feeling was so real, so strange. Stunned for a moment, the corner of his mouth leaked out a bitter smile. He finally understood. The desolate god's consciousness was probing. The desolate god of this great swamp was a level 10 demon god. With a thought, its consciousness could cover the entire world. Any creature that stepped into this great swamp, whether it was a human cultivator, a demon, or an alien race, as long as there was a movement of the soul and flesh, would be investigated. The desolate god's consciousness and soul, perhaps there were countless. At the same time, the desolate god could change the consciousness of the creatures that stepped into the great swamp, even if there were dozens of them, and spread out a considerable amount of consciousness to investigate one by one. The feeling of extreme discomfort lasted for a short while. But in Yu Yuan's mind, it was as if he had fallen into endless darkness, a long torment. All of a sudden, the sky in his eyes turned from gray to azure. The sky was still clear, there was still no cloud, as if nothing had changed. The feeling of relaxation reflected in his heart let Yu Yuan know that the desolate god's probing had passed. Is it the sky that changed, or is it my eyes that were blinded? Or, at the same time, many people like me thought that the sky changed greatly, but in fact their hearts and senses were disturbed by it? Yu Yuan frowned. At this moment, the sword mark on his arm, which had faded, returned to normal. The sword soul and the cauldron soul in the Zhigung acupoint quietly, the familiar aura appeared again. Yu Yuan instantly understood that the sword soul and the cauldron soul were sensitive enough to smell the condensation of the desolate god's consciousness. In order to prevent the mystery from being seen through, they hurriedly hid deeper. Should not be seen through, right? Muttering in his heart, he did not take the initiative to communicate with the sword soul and the cauldron soul. He secretly made up his mind that if it was not necessary, he would try his best not to use the evil demon cauldron, the scabbard in his mustard seed bracelet, or the sword soul in his arm bone. The tip of his eyebrows twitched, and he felt a faint, intermittent connection between the sword soul in his arm bone and somewhere in the depths of the lake. The sword spirit seemed to want to let him know, so the connection lasted for a while. When he roughly figured out the location, the connection was broken, and the sword soul went into hiding again. What could it be? Staring in that direction, Yu Yuan frowned deeply. It can't be the evil thing that was suppressed by that moon-severing realm cultivator again, can it? If it's like the platinum skull of the dark realm Azura, it's going to be very interesting. With this doubt in mind, he officially went deeper into the lake and took the lead in that direction. Roar! Roar! Moments later, he heard the roars of demon beasts and sensed the tremors of the earth. After walking for a while, he discovered that a swarm of 4th and 5th grade demon beasts had formed and rushed out of the lake as if they had gone mad. The demon beasts have all left. There must be great changes in the great desolate god lake. With this thought in mind, Yu Yuan avoided the departing beast hordes and concealed the blood and chi fluctuations on her body. She moved forward in the swamp while investigating. Passing by a pool, Yu Yuan looked at the sparkling water and the dead water jade lotuses on the surface of the pool. He was slightly surprised. An hour later, beside a winding stream, he saw withered blue cherry blossoms and a lot of green secretion grass. Because the great desolate god lake was full of lakes and spiritual chi, it was very suitable for the growth of exotic flowers and plants. Therefore, when he had entered in his previous life, he had seen all kinds of medicinal plants everywhere. The water jade lotuses, blue cherry blossoms, and green secretion grass were only mortal and spirit-grade medicinal plants in the outermost area of the lake. These kinds of medicinal plants only needed a small amount of spiritual chi to grow well. When consumed by low-rank demon beasts, it was beneficial to the strengthening of their bodies. But now, these low-grade medicinal herbs were withering and dying one after another. Why is the spiritual chi at the edge of the great desolate god lake dried up? Yu Yuan closed his eyes and circulated his golden hall microcosm, trying to absorb the spiritual chi. Originally, his Yuan Tai physique was able to absorb a small amount of spiritual energy into his body through his pores at all times. However, after he entered the great desolate god lake, his Yuan Tai body could not absorb spiritual chi into his body and channel it into his golden hall microcosm. He stopped and channeled the 9 lights heavenly wheel. His expression became very strange. My feeling is correct. The spiritual chi at the outermost area of the great desolate god lake is even thinner than some empire's villages. Yu Yuan looked into the depths and said, "No wonder those demon beasts left the lake. The scarcity of spiritual chi will hinder the demon beasts' advancement and affect the refinement of their bodies." The higher the rank of a demon beast, the greater the need for spiritual chi. According to the Python Queen, the level 9, level 8, and level 7 demons were ordered to leave by the desolate god and were not allowed to return for the time being. This should be related to the change in spiritual chi. Low-rank spirit beasts might not need as much spiritual chi as those greater demons that had gained intelligence and could take human form. However, they still needed it. If the spiritual chi in the lake became so thin, the level 4 and level 5 demon beasts would have to find another way out and migrate out of the lake. A strand of weak thought came from the Purple Palace Meridian artifact's soul. The spiritual chi of the great desolate god lake has not disappeared. It is only gathering towards the depths. It seems that all of the spiritual chi is rushing towards the desolate god. Desolate god, gather the scattered spiritual chi that is everywhere into a single point. That's it. As if afraid of being detected, the cauldron's soul withdrew and went into hiding, cutting off its connection with Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan, on the other hand, was stunned. The desolate god had gathered the spiritual chi that lingered around the vast lake and condensed it into its body. What was it trying to do? It was plundering the entire lake's spiritual chi and not giving it to other great demons. Those great demons could only leave. How long would this change last? And what was the desolate god trying to do? The cauldron's soul did not respond. Filled with confusion, Yu Yuan walked alone in the great lake. She watched as the medicinal plants that required spiritual energy died one after another, and watched as many low-grade demon beasts left. The desolate god Great Lake, which was full of vitality and was known as the best treasure land in the Qianxian continent, showed signs of decline. Yu Yuan knew that this should be temporary. It was caused by the desolate god's big move. A few days later, he suddenly heard the sound of fierce fighting. He saw that in the distant sky, there was a bright spiritual light and the whistling of weapons mixed with the roars of demon beasts. After hesitating for a while, he hid his aura and quietly approached. After a while, he saw a group of people from the Hui Yao Empire surrounding and killing many demon beasts that were trying to escape from the lake. Then, they dragged the demon beasts' corpses and pulled down a floating palanquin. The demon beasts that had just died were not of high levels. They were about level 4 or 5. The demon beasts' corpses were lifted through the curtain and sent into the palanquin. Not long after, he saw blood-stained demon beasts' bones being thrown out from under the palanquin. Someone's coming. A pleasant female voice suddenly came from the palanquin. Yu Yuan was about to retreat when he knew that the other party had found him. Chapter 569. The small palanquin was carved with dragons and phoenixes. It was exquisitely designed and shone with a misty light. It was obvious at first glance that this was an extraordinary flying spirit artifact. The female voice inside the palanquin was soft and gentle. It was like a spring breeze that made one's bones feel weak. However, when it entered Yu Yuan's ears, the pleasant female voice seemed to be able to shatter his eardrums. It rumbled and gave him a splitting headache. The unopened Naiwan acupoint in his upper dantian felt as if it was going to explode in advance. Yu Yuan's expression changed abruptly. Just as he was about to flee, he saw a figure suddenly arrive. The person who had arrived was at the Yin spirit realm. He was old and had white hair. It was an old man wearing a yellow magua. Yu Yuan couldn't tell exactly what level he was at in the Yin spirit realm. However, in any empire in the Qianxian continent, Yin spirits were not to be underestimated. They were already the pillars of the empire. In the Demon Moon Empire, the backbone and pillars of the great families were at this level. Therefore, the old Yin spirit realm man in front of Qin Lai probably had a great background in the Radiance Empire and had a very high status. The old man held a pipe of tobacco. His body was hunched, and he revealed a mouthful of yellow teeth. He grinned at Yu Yuan and said, "Little brother, Don't be in a hurry to leave. Many sparks suddenly flew out of the pipe. The sparks fell like a drizzle and surrounded the area where Yu Yuan was. However, not a single spark landed on Yu Yuan's body. It didn't hurt his flesh. The sparks floated and didn't fall to the ground like fireflies. They were still shining and releasing light. Yu Yuan, who was at the center, smiled bitterly. He withdrew his body slightly to prevent his skin from touching the sparks. He said helplessly, "Old senior, why did you keep me here? I'm just passing by and heard the sounds of your battle. I just came to take a look." To Yu Yuan, who had refined the sun's refined flames and cultivated the nine lights' heavenly wheel, the power of the flames contained in the sparks wasn't as terrifying as it appeared. He just didn't want the old man to be suspicious. Curiosity kills the cat. The old man, who was smoking a pipe, blinked his eyes and scrutinized Yu Yuan from head to toe. Then, he turned his head to the small sedan floating in the air behind him and said loudly, "He's just a young man in the shattering profound stage. Don't pay too much attention to him." Beside the hovering sedan, there were dozens of cultivators wearing the clothes of the Hui Yao Empire with a glowing silver shield pattern on their backs. The disciples of the major clans of the Hui Yao Empire and cultivators often liked to wear such conspicuous clothing in order to reveal their identities in the famous mountains and lakes of the Qianxian continent. By doing so, he could avoid a lot of trouble and unnecessary fights. The silver prismatic shield that emitted light was the unique symbol of the Hui Yao Empire. Only those who were recognized by the Radiance Empire and members of large family clans were qualified to travel in such a manner. The Hui Yao Empire and the Divine Might Empire bordered the desolate god's Great Lake. It was rumored that they were trying to curry favor with the desolate god, and were afraid of offending him. However, if the people from the Hui Yao Empire wanted to enter the great desolate god lake, they should have entered from the other side. What was the situation with the group in front of them? Yu Yuan was secretly surprised. He had entered from the Divine Might Empire. The people from the Hui Yao Empire shouldn't have entered from there. Unless this group of people from the Hui Yao Empire had come from the Divine Might Empire previously. Thinking of this, Yu Yuan gradually became interested and was no longer in a hurry. "Let's ask about your background." The limp voice sounded again in the hovering sedan. "I'm from the Demon Moon Empire. My surname is Li and my name is Li Qi." Without waiting for the old man to interrogate him, Yu Yuan tactfully reported his name. "I couldn't stay there any longer, so I came to the great desolate god lake to try my luck. I heard that the patriarch of the Li family and Commander Shen are familiar with each other. That commander seems to be in this great lake." The old man, who was smoking a pipe, was stunned. "A disciple of the Li family? Not a direct descendant," Yu Yuan sighed softly. "It's also because of this that I was able to survive that purge. Previously, I was in the Forsaken Forgotten Grounds, and then I stayed in the Divine Might Empire's Divine Might Sacred City for a while. Recently, I heard that the great desolate god lake was strange, so I came to take a look." "Oh, the Li family." The old man stroked his chin, half believing and half doubting. "Bring some along. It might be useful on the way." Inside the hovering sedan, the woman, who hadn't revealed herself, instructed and then said, "All right, let's continue on our way." The last few blood-stained bones were thrown out from under the sedan. After taking a deep breath of the pipe, the old man exhaled the lingering smoke in an intoxicated manner. Soon after, he knocked on Yu Yuan's shoulder with the pipe. "Be obedient and do whatever I tell you to do." The copper pipe knocked on Yu Yuan's shoulder, and it was as heavy as a mountain. However, Yu Yuan, who had just experienced the cleansing of the fiend body refinement art, and his physique had been tempered 1,000 times, was actually still able to withstand the blow of the pipe. He cleverly let out a muffled groan and bent his knees, as if he was about to fall down. He hurriedly said, "Oh, got it." The old man was very satisfied. He nodded, put away the pipe, and took another deep breath. All the sparks flew into the pipe, and he didn't continue to stare at Yu Yuan covetously. Follow me. He wasn't afraid that Yu Yuan, who was at the shattering profound realm, could escape from his hands. Holding the pipe, he slowly walked towards the group in the waist-high grass. Yu Yuan, who was previously hiding in the grass, straightened his back, shook his head and smiled bitterly, and obediently followed. If he released the fiend demon cauldron and summoned Consort Han, he wouldn't be afraid of these people at all. However, that would definitely alarm the desolate god. If he alarmed the desolate god, he wouldn't be able to predict what would happen to him. Especially since Xin Feiqing had a close relationship with the desolate god. That medicine slave from his previous life should also be hiding in the desolate god Great Lake. He decided to wait and see. He wanted to know what these people from the Hui Yao Empire wanted to do at this juncture, and where they wanted to go to the desolate god Great Lake. 2 days later, Yu Yuan was silent and obedient most of the time. He also found out that the old man who smoked the pipe all day was called Qiao Su, who was at the middle stage of the Yin spirit realm. The Qiao family was one of the top families in the Hui Yao Empire. The woman in the hovering sedan didn't speak much. She only ordered the people around her to kill the level 4 and level 5 demonic beasts. After killing them, she asked those people to send the demonic beasts into the sedan. Yu Yuan observed for 2 days and saw some clues. The hovering sedan was an extraordinary spiritual weapon. He couldn't sense the movement inside with his qi and blood. He also couldn't be sure how many people were in the sedan and whether they were humans. However, there were 5 men who wore the clothes of the Hui Yao Empire and had silver prismatic shields on their back. They weren't from the Qiao family. There was a weak dragon's aura on the 5 of them. Human cultivators had dragon's aura. This was the typical characteristic of the dragon attendants of the Hidden Dragon Lake. The 5 dragon attendants of the Hidden Dragon Lake hid their identities and hid among the Qiao family members of the Hui Yao Empire. They were very respectful to the mysterious woman in the hovering sedan. After the demonic beasts were killed, they were sent into the hovering sedan. Their flesh was gone and only their bones were thrown out. Yu Yuan laughed softly and had a guess in his heart. The mysterious woman in the hovering sedan should be like Zhao Yafu. She was chosen by the Hidden Dragon Lake and was a so-called lucky person who was raised as a dragon whelp. Compared to Zhao Yafu, the woman's realm was definitely higher, and she had raised the dragon whelp for a longer time. Many demonic beasts were sent in. It was unknown whether they were eaten by the dragon whelp or refined and absorbed by her. The desolate god never bothered with the goblin temple. As for the Hidden Dragon Lake, those dragons that once dominated the Howren were also not on good terms with the Goblin Temple. Yu Yuan pondered. A dragon whelp. Is the dragon soul dormant, or is the dragon body and dragon soul together? Did they come to the desolate god Great Lake to find the desolate god? Or are they raising the dragon with demons? Chapter 570. Yu Yuan had a feud with the Hidden Dragon Lake. He had contributed greatly to Zhao Yafu's success in swallowing the dragon. After the death of the level 7 Silver Frost Azure Dragon, Yu Zhu had eaten its flesh and refined it into the island in the middle of the lake using its tendons. The Silver Frost Azure Dragon's soul had been obtained by Yen Qiling. If the 5 dragon attendants of the Hidden Dragon Lake knew that Li Qi was Yu Yuan, they wouldn't wait for the woman in the hovering sedan. They would wait for the right opportunity and kill him immediately. At this thought, Yu Yuan grinned. He didn't have the consciousness of being a prisoner at all. You can still smile? Qiao Su took a puff of his pipe and looked at the old man with yellow teeth, who was laughing heartily. Qiao Su shook his head and felt that there was something wrong with this kid's brain. Another day passed. The moon was hidden and the stars were sparse. The sky was dark and gloomy. In a lush forest, this group of guests from the Hui Yao Empire suddenly stopped in the forest. Suddenly, the crisp sound of a bell could be heard from the hovering sedan. The night was dark and silent. In the dense forest, a group of cultivators from the hidden Dragon Lake and the Qiao family sat down quietly with their eyes closed. Ding ding ding! Ding ding ding! The clear and melodious sound of a bell appeared out of nowhere, adding a hint of strangeness and gloom to this part of the world. Yu Yuan found an empty space in a corner and sat down. When he heard the sound of the bell, he felt his hair stand on end. In the middle of the night, in the wilderness, the sound of the bell coming from the hovering sedan wasn't pleasant to the ear. Instead, it was so sharp that it made his eardrums ache. The sound of the bell had a charm that made one's soul confused. Yu Yuan gradually felt dizzy. She must be summoning someone. He knew that the mysterious woman hiding in the hovering sedan was using this method to expose her location. She must be waiting for someone to receive her. After a while, clusters of soul shadows rushed in from all directions and appeared indistinctly. The night was already dark, and these soul shadows that appeared out of nowhere caused the temperature in the forest to plummet. It was cold and evil, enough to make cowards run for their lives. However, to those who had embarked on the path of cultivation, spirit souls were commonplace and not rare. In the hands of cultivators, weak souls and ghosts were no different from lambs waiting to be slaughtered. A long, snake-like spirit soul suddenly came to a stop as it approached Nietian. That spirit soul seemed to be startled. It ignored the call of the bell and hurriedly retreated. Yu Yuan only felt that the fiendish demon cauldron hiding in his Zhigung acupoint was restless, as if it had smelled its prey. He immediately realized that the serpent-like spirit must have sensed danger because of the baleful demon cauldron. The dozens of soul shadows in front of him were all soul spirits that didn't have physical bodies. They exuded a clear soul aura that could be absorbed by the baleful demon cauldron and refined into a baleful demon cauldron. The soul shadows lingered in the forest and instinctively felt fear, not daring to approach. The woman in the luxurious sedan looked puzzled and asked softly, "Where's your master?" Yu Yuan was shocked. The cauldron soul hidden deep inside his Zhigung acupoint suddenly showed desire and sent a message. Those soul shadows have the aura of the land of terror. I can refine them one by one and increase the power of the cauldron. You can't. Yu Yuan rebuked. Back then, he had revealed his relationship with the Shunhun sect and the secret of cultivating the extreme wisdom soul-tempering art. After obtaining the fiendish demon cauldron's acknowledgement, the cauldron soul had told him that he could try to go to the land of terror when he reached the Yin spirit realm. According to the cauldron soul, the land of terror was a natural place for spirit souls to evolve. There were many spirit souls that could be absorbed and refined by the fiendish demon cauldron. However, the land of terror couldn't be entered with flesh and blood. Only souls could wander there. Yu Yuan had to break through to the Yin spirit realm and condense a Yin spirit. Only then could the fiendish demon cauldron take his Yin spirit to the land of terror to kill and refine powerful spirit souls and condense more fiendish demons, increasing the cauldron's power. The white-robed ghost that had appeared in the starry ash sea and commanded a vast army of Yin spirit souls came from the land of terror. Unfortunately, the white-robed ghost was too strong. At that time, even if Yu Yuan and the fiendish demon cauldron had become one, he still wasn't a match for that spirit soul. At this moment, the soul shadows that appeared in the forest also came from the land of terror. However, they were weaker and could be easily refined by the fiendish demon cauldron. Therefore, the cauldron soul was tempted. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh! The numerous soul spirits that had gathered instinctively sensed a hidden threat, and disregarded the obstruction of the woman in the small sedan chair in the air, as they quickly retreated. A moment later, there were no more spirit souls in the forest. Qiao Su was stunned and scratched his head. "Miss, something's not right." A cultivator wearing the clothes of the Hui Yao Empire and possessing a dragon's aura said with a gloomy expression, "These spirit souls should have been sent here to strengthen the dragon soul. The sound of the bell can summon them and make them obediently enter the sedan." They shouldn't have left. That person gave us the bell and said the same thing. Xiao Su was also puzzled. In a country with people, it's not appropriate to use Yin spirits to nourish the dragon soul. That's why the location was set here. He didn't want to show himself and imprisoned the spirit souls in the forest. When the bell rings, success should follow naturally. Yu Yuan sat quietly with a strange smile on his face. The hidden dragon lake cultivator, who was full of anger, had a bloody glint in his eyes. His expression suddenly became ferocious and ruthless. "Kid, what are you laughing at? What's so funny?" Many gazes instantly converged on him because of his words. "I just find it interesting," Yu Yuan said. "Interesting?" The cultivator of the hidden dragon lake stood up and suddenly arrived in front of him. He stretched out his hand and covered Yu Yuan's skull with his palm. Then he said to the hovering sedan, "Do you want to kill him and use his remnant soul to attract those spirit souls again?" A tiny vortex suddenly formed in the palm of his hand. The vortex, which was a mixture of spirit power and qi and blood, was like a wandering dragon. It produced a suction force that targeted Yu Yuan's soul and consciousness. The three souls in his mind were alarmed at the same time. It was as if they were being restrained and wanted to be pulled out of his skull. Without breaking through to the Yin spirit realm, the soul would scatter when the wind blew. Many members of the Qiao family and the dragon attendants of the hidden dragon lake were cold and emotionless. They seemed to think that it was a good idea. Xiao Su put down the pipe in his hand and said curiously, "You're still laughing." Yu Yuan, whose skull was being covered by that man, knew that as long as that man exerted his strength, her soul would leave her body in the next moment. She raised her head, looked at that man who was trying to kill her, and was still laughing. It was as if Yu Yuan had no idea that her life was already in someone else's hands. I really don't know how he cultivated to the breaking profound realm. In the hovering sedan, the mysterious woman who had never shown her face judged with a strange tone. Then she said, "His physical body is much more precious than his soul. Don't kill him. Keep him first. He will be of great use in the future. Consider yourself lucky." The dragon attendant, who was originally unhappy and wanted to kill him, snorted coldly and let go of his hand. He looked at Yu Yuan, who was still smiling. Looking at Yu Yuan's mocking eyes, he didn't know why, but he felt an indescribably strange and uncomfortable feeling, because he didn't see a trace of panic or fear in that pair of eyes. "Thank you for not killing me. I will repay you in the future," Yu Yuan said with a light smile. "There's no need to repay him. He will die in the end. It's just a matter of time." That person turned and walked to the hovering sedan. He lowered his voice and reported something. He didn't want to let Xiao Su and the Qiao family members of the empire know what he said. Not long after, the hovering sedan flew again. Those followers also stood up and followed. The next morning, the group of people had just passed through the dense forest when they saw a group of 5 women in bright clothes. They were all gorgeously dressed and had been waiting for a long time. Yu Yuan raised his head and was stunned when he saw them. Chapter 571. To Yu Yuan's surprise, the cold and ruthless female general, Li Yuchan, who cultivated the hero soul art, was among them. Li Yuchan was wearing a colorful dress and makeup. Her attire was a little out of the ordinary and didn't match her usual cold temperament. She also seemed out of place among the 4 women who were full of smiles. She was tall and the clothes she wore in the past were all clinging to her body, making it easier for her to fight. At this moment, she was wearing a long dress with loose sleeves and many flowers embroidered on it. Yu Yuan was taken aback and his expression instantly turned strange. Li Yuchan, who was fiddling with her sleeves and felt uncomfortable, didn't notice him at first. That was because Yu Yuan was at the back of the crowd. The first to appear was the small floating sedan, followed by Qiao Su and the 5 dragon attendant. Then, the rest of the Qiao family members appeared. Yu Yuan was at the back of the group and was blocked by the crowd, so he didn't stand out. When Li Yuchan sensed a surprised gaze on her, she deliberately looked through the crowd. When she noticed Yu Yuan, this female general of the empire trembled, and her expression froze. Li Yuchan. After a moment of confusion, Qiao Su was also shocked. He stood beside the small floating sedan and asked in confusion, "Why are you in the great pool of the wilderness god? Why are you here?" Li Yuchan. That ruthless general from the Silver Moon Empire? It's her. The 5 dragon attendants and the Qiao family members of the Radiance Empire were shocked. Li Yuchan might not be famous in the Leiyan Islands, and not many people knew her. However, in the Qianxian continent, the Divine Might Empire, and the Radiance Empire, Li Yuchan was famous. After all, she had led the Silver Moon Empire's army and fought small-scale battles with the Divine Might Empire and the Radiance Empire. When she led the army, she mainly fought with the Scarlet Sun Empire. Everyone in the Scarlet Sun Empire knew that she was famous for her ruthlessness. The Scarlet Sun Empire described her as a cold-blooded demon who killed without batting an eyelid. She only had a few small conflicts with the Divine Might Empire and the Radiance Empire, so not many people had seen her. But Qiao Su had seen her before and had even crossed swords with her. As it had been a long time, Qiao Su's impression of her was a little hazy. But after a while, she managed to remember her. Qiao Su was startled to see her in the crowd. She quickly told her about her background. The rest of the Qiao family members and dragon attendants were also shocked when they learned that she was the female general of the Silver Moon Empire. Just as everyone was discussing, Qiao Su slapped her head and exclaimed, "What a coincidence!" With these words, he jerked his head back and pointed the pipe in his hand at Yu Yuan, who was standing at the back of the group, and said, "Li Qi. You didn't expect this, did you? In the great lake of the desolate god, you can even meet the legendary general of your Li family. Hee hee." The mysterious woman's pleasant laughter came from the floating palanquin. The woman seemed to find the situation interesting. Li Yuchan raised his blade-like eyebrows as his sharp eyes instantly pierced Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan coughed and braced himself as he walked out. He cupped his fists and said, "My name is Li Qi. You might not have heard, I've heard of you." Li Yuchan inhaled lightly to calm herself down. "You're from the branch of the Li family in Anyu City. I know you. Why are you in the great lake of the desolate god?" Yu Yuan froze. He had thought that the female general of the empire would expose his lies and reveal his true origins. Unexpectedly, not only did Li Yuchan not expose him, she even took the initiative to help him cover it up. This made him unable to use the speech he had prepared. He didn't know how to continue the conversation. Yu Yuan pondered inwardly. Was it because he had helped her heal her Een spirit on Clear Sky Island? Was that why she was like this? "Come over and follow me." Li Yuchan suddenly waved her hand and said to an older beautiful woman beside her, "Li Qi is a member of the Li family. He fled to the Great Lake because of the calamity that befell the Li family. My sister and I both have our reasons," so, the woman looked to be in her 40s. She had a string of pearl necklaces around her neck. She smiled and nodded in understanding. "It's only right. Since he's a member of the Li family, you can make the arrangements." After Li Yuchan thanked her, she suddenly pulled a long face and shouted, "What are you waiting for?" Yu Yuan, who was confused, hurriedly walked over to her when she heard what she said. "Wait." The dragon attendant who wanted to kill Yu Yuan in the forest reached out to stop him when he was about to leave the group. That person didn't look at the motionless Yu Yuan after being stopped. Instead, he looked at the noblewoman, pointed at himself, and made an introduction. "Dragon Concealment Lake, Fong Chun. Tan Yuan," the beautiful woman said with a smile. "Since Li Qi is only a branch disciple of the Li family, a minor character who isn't worth mentioning, can you let us deal with him?" Fang Chun bowed, then looked up and said to the woman, "We captured him midway and didn't suspect him. He heard a lot of things and learned a lot of things." The woman who called herself Tan Yuan hesitated slightly. Tan Yuan understood the other party's meaning. They didn't want Li Qi to live. There aren't many members of the Li family left. There are even fewer people like Li Qi. Li Yuchan's expression was cold as he glared fiercely at Fang Chun and said, "According to what I know, the rank 7 Silver Frost Azure Dragon of Dragon Concealment Lake had cooperated with the Thunder Sect and the Frost Een Sect in the Land of Wasteland." Tan Yuan nodded slightly. There was such a thing. "She can't represent Dragon Concealment Lake," Fang Chun said anxiously. "Young man, come over." Tan Yuan made a decision because of Li Yuchan's words. She ignored Fang Chun and said to the people in the floating palanquin, "There aren't many members of the Li family left. How about you give me some face? If you didn't let him go first and came to beg me first, I would have agreed." The mysterious woman in the floating palanquin still had a soft and pleasant voice, but her attitude was unyielding. "Now? No." Tan Yuan frowned. Fang Chun was about to put down the hand he had stretched out to stop Yu Yuan, but after hearing the words of the person in the palanquin, he straightened it again. He finally turned his head and smiled coldly at Yu Yuan. "Kid, your luck isn't very good." Yu Yuan wasn't angry and smiled brightly. "That's not necessarily true. Girly." Tan Yuan weighed the pros and cons seriously and stared at the floating palanquin. She suddenly turned to persuade Li Yuchan. "A branch family disciple isn't worth the trouble, right? How about this? Li Qi's blood ties with you are thin, so let them do as they please? We will treat your nephew Li Yu well. We will definitely help him break through to the next realm." Li Yuchan looked at him from afar. Yu Yuan stood in front of a pack of tigers and wolves, calm and composed, neither haughty nor humble. It was as though he didn't know she was working hard for his life. Grinning, revealing a mouthful of dazzling white teeth, Yu Yuan said with a smile, "You don't have to care about my life or death. You are the hope of the family. You just have to take care of yourself and Li Yu." He thought that Li Yuchan held a grudge against him because of the incident at the barren, abandoned ground. She shouldn't care so much about him. Chun Liangquan of the Azure Luan Empire had taken away the Silver Moon Queen's Een spirit from Lake Heart Island. Shin Feiqing had saved Li Yuchan and Li Yu on Clear Sky Island. This made him feel that there was a mysterious power in the dark that seemed to be planning something and doing something unspeakable. Li Yuchan and Li Yu shouldn't have known before. But now, it was very likely that Li Yuchan had been convinced. After being brought to the desolate God Great Swamp by Shin Feiqing, she might have turned to the other party when she was at her wits' end. Shin Feiqing, Silver Moon Queen, Du Jing, Chun Liangquan, and this unknown sandalwood in front of me. Who is behind them? What do they want to do? With this thought, Yu Yuan looked at the floating sedan. Could the Radiance Empire's Qiao family and Dragon Concealment Lake have been brought in? I'll talk to her. Li Yuchan snorted and suddenly charged towards the floating sedan. If I remember correctly, we should be old acquaintances. I even saved you in the past. Are you not even going to give me face? The swift and decisive female general condensed into a beam of light and charged towards the sedan. No. Sandalwood, Qiao Su, and Fang Chun's expressions changed as they tried to stop her. Chapter 572. No one expected Li Yuchan to suddenly launch an attack. Whoosh! At the back of the female general's head, a strange spider web that only experts of the same level could see suddenly appeared. Whoosh! Tiny flames ignited in the illusory spiderweb behind her. All the cultivators present, be it the Qiao family members or the dragon attendants of Dragon Concealment Lake, paled. Anyone who cultivated to the Een spirit realm, and had condensed soul power could acutely sense that their soul power was being entangled by the spiderweb and was about to be pulled in. There were clusters of soul shadows burning inside the spiderweb. Xiao Su stilled and pointed at the soul shadows. These souls. Yu Yuan was also stunned. The soul shadows in front of them were clearly the ones that had been summoned by the floating palanquin's bell in the forest not long ago. However, they had retreated in fear because of the fiendish demon cauldron. According to the fiendish demon cauldron's judgment, these soul shadows had come from the land of terror. Someone had probably ordered them to scatter in the forest. The soul shadows should have been enticed by the bell and entered the floating palanquin to nourish the dragon's soul. But now, the soul shadows that should have been taken in by the mysterious woman in the floating palanquin were ignited in the strange spiderweb behind Li Yuchan's head. Heroic soul art. The dragon attendant called Fang Chun's expression was extremely cold as he screamed. Heroic soul art. Upon hearing these 3 words, the Qiao family members and the remaining dragon attendants were all dumbfounded. Only Tan Yuan and the other 3 women in colorful clothes seemed to know the trick of Li Yuchan's art and were not shocked. "Don't mess around," Tan Yuan shouted, telling her to calm down and not act rashly. But the ruthless female general was unmoved. When she flew above the floating palanquin, she suddenly fell. The burning soul shadows wailed and cried, giving off ear-piercing soul howls that only the Yin gods could hear. Following Li Yuchan's body, with a suffocating and domineering presence, they flew towards the small floating palanquin. Xiao Su, Fang Chun, and the other dragon attendants were too late to stop her. Roar! A violent dragon roar came from the floating palanquin. A pocket-sized dragon suddenly flew out of the top of the palanquin and expanded in an instant. After the dragon's body appeared, it instantly grew to several hundred feet long. Its entire body was overflowing with dark green and dark brown smoke. The dragon's scales on its enormous body were shattered, and many wounds were so deep that the bones could be seen. The dragon flesh inside was rotting, and one could see that the poison was still seeping in. This was a dragon that was covered in scars, heavily injured, and had been tortured by poison for who knew how long. This dragon's heavily injured state looked towards the sky. The burning souls seemed to be sucked into the giant whale's mouth, which was full of fangs. They were all swallowed into its stomach. Its pair of deep purple dragon eyes were originally dim, but at this moment they actually lit up a little. The gigantic dragon with purple eyes looked coldly at Li Yuchan, who was about to land, and suddenly spat out a dragon breath. A beam of purple crystalline light that was as majestic as the sea surged towards Li Yuchan. Poof! Li Yuchan was sent flying into the sky by the dragon's breath. The dense purple light in the dragon's breath actually wrapped around Li Yuchan. Enough! Tan Yuan frowned. She felt that the scene in front of her was too embarrassing. She slapped at Li Yuchan from a distance. A huge palm formed from dense qi and blood that seemed to blot out the sky smashed the purple crystal light that enveloped Li Yuchan into pieces. Li Yuchan was instantly rescued by her. Sandalwood's face turned cold. She looked at the purple dragon that was covered in injuries and emitted a poisonous aura. It looked like it was about to die. She said, "If you still want to heal your injuries and live, then behave yourself." The giant purple dragon looked down at Yen Yuan with its shining purple vertical eye. She attacked first. After saying this, the purple dragon attendants shrank back into the floating palanquin. Purple jade dragon. Yu Yuan, who was intercepted by Fang Chun, stroked his chin and looked at the severely injured dragon attendants. He returned obediently and muttered softly. If this purple jade dragon hadn't been severely injured, its entire body would be as bright as purple jade. It would be extremely beautiful. Among the dragon race, the purple jade dragon was famous for its magnificence and nobility. It had a much higher status than the silver frost azure dragon that appeared in the barren land. Yu Yuan had just noticed and knew that the purple jade dragon should be at level 7 as well. Level 7 demons and soul-traversing realm human cultivators were not allowed to step into the desolate god swamp. Anyone who entered had to die. Why could the purple jade dragon do that? Furthermore, Tan Yuan, who raised her hand and slapped to help Li Yuchan out, was definitely not at the Yin spirit realm. She was at least at the soul-traversing realm. Moreover, when she had unleashed that palm strike, she had felt a sense of déjà vu from the boundless vitality of her blood essence. After carefully comprehending and thinking about it, Yu Yuan's heart trembled. Ancient desolate sect. The spirit art that Sandalwood cultivated was also from the ancient barren sect. Although it was not the true art of the ancient barren world, it was still a powerful body-tempering art that could refine one's body, fuse one's spirit energy with one's blood, and produce shocking amounts of energy. The ancient desolate sect was famous for refining one's physique in the Tianyuan continent. Although Shun Feiqing looked petite, the strength she formed in the barren land was no weaker than a demonic Tao cultivator who trained his physique and fey beasts of the same level. Tan Yuan was the same as Shun Feiqing. She was another anomaly that cultivated the ancient desolate sect's domineering body technique. Shun Feiqing is hiding in the desolate god swamp. Tan Yuan is another ancient desolate sect expert. Rumor has it that Shun Feiqing's master lost to the current sect master of the ancient desolate sect and went to the outer realms in a fit of anger. That person never returned. It's said that he died. After that, Shun Feiqing was ostracized by the ancient desolate sect. She was targeted everywhere and eventually betrayed the ancient desolate sect. And now the ancient desolate sect was once the leader of the 7 inferior sections. It was even stronger than the current Spirit Void sect. It was a powerful sect that was about to stand shoulder to shoulder with the 3 superior sections. The decline and fall of this sect came very quickly and very strangely. It was rumored that the Spirit Void sect played an extremely dishonorable role in the ancient desolate sect's rapid decline. Could it be that another branch of the ancient desolate sect lost in the competition and fled to the desolate god swamp? A series of doubts grew in Yu Yuan's heart. It made him look forward to this trip to the desolate god swamp even more. Fang Chun, let Li Qi go. The mysterious woman with the soft voice in the small floating sedan suddenly spoke. Fang Chun frowned. He heard a lot of things. It's fine. The mysterious woman in the sedan chuckled. General Li even dares to show the heroic soul art in the desolate god swamp. What do we have to worry about? Those who practice the heroic soul art will be ostracized by the sects of the Tianyuan continent and Tranquil continent. Once they appear, they will be hunted down. Since we are all on the same side and the Silver Moon Queen's actions have angered everyone, what is there to be afraid of? The Li family should not hinder us. They will even be our allies. As she spoke, Li Yuchan descended from the sky and stopped beside Tan Yuan. Come here. Li Yuchan beckoned to Yu Yuan once more. Yu Yuan smiled and glanced at Fang Chun. Will you pass? Fang Chun's face was ashen. He put down the arm that was blocking him and turned around to avoid looking at Yu Yuan's smug face. I will repay you. Yu Yuan smiled brightly and walked past him. When she arrived beside Li Yuchan, the beautiful woman called Tan Yuan, who cultivated the ancient desolate sect's spirit art, could not help but squint her eyes and look deeply at Yu Yuan. Suddenly, she said to Li Yuchan, this kid from the Li family has better cultivation talent than Li Yu. Furthermore, he's very suitable to practice the incantations of our branch. Tan Yuan actually appreciated Yu Yuan's talent. This surprised Li Yuchan. He hesitated for a moment before saying, let's talk about this later. Everyone, follow me. Tan Yuan nodded and called out to Qiao Su, Fang Chun, and the rest. She took the lead and led the way. Don't stray too far from me. Li Yuchan snorted. Yu Yuan smiled and said, okay. Chapter 573. They were silent along the way. Tan Yuan led the way, accompanied by Li Yuchan and 3 other women with extraordinary looks. The dragon attendants of the Radiance Empire's Qiao family and the dragon attendants of the Hidden Dragon Lake escorted the small floating sedan and followed behind. Half a day later, the scorching sun was so strong that it made people sleepy. Tan Yuan was the first to stop. Yu Yuan raised her head and looked ahead. She saw a meandering river that resembled agile snakes, converging towards the great lake. Wisps of spiritual energy rose from the streams and rivers. Before they could disperse, they seemed to be pulled by an inexplicable force into the deepest part of the desolate God-Great Swamp. In this world, the mountains and rivers were short and there were many lakes and lakes. Wherever there were lakes and streams, there would be spirit energy dissipating. It should be everywhere, filling any area in this world. But now, as long as there was spirit energy gathering and rising from the streams and lakes, it would be instantly guided away. As a result, along the way, Yu Yuan discovered that the famous holy land of cultivation in the Qianxian continent had become a wasteland with extremely poor spiritual energy. It was even worse than the dark domain Azura's eyes that had silently absorbed spirit energy for thousands of years. Follow me. The rest of you, stay here and guard. Tan Yuan turned around and looked at the small floating sedan with a smile. Okay. The mysterious woman in the small floating sedan obediently agreed. Tan Yuan immediately flew to a flowing stream and submerged her waist in the water. She turned back to look at the small floating sedan. The small floating sedan flew over with a whoosh and instantly arrived behind Tan Yuan. The water of the meandering rivers suddenly came to a stop, and at the bottom of the river, there was a sudden burst of bright light. There were a total of 18 streams flowing in one direction, but in an instant the river water stopped flowing. At the bottom of the river, there was a bright divine light. Whoosh, whoosh. Yu Yuan narrowed his eyes and felt the unusual surge of energy. He said, "A hidden array." Obviously, this was a strange array that relied on the 18 streams and was carefully organized and built. Before this array was activated, it looked like 18 normal meandering streams. There was nothing strange or mysterious about it. As soon as Sandalwood activated the grand spell formation with her secret magic, the spirit stones and crystal jades that had been concealed at the bottom of the 18 rivers suddenly burst forth with power. Whoosh! The world in front of Yu Yuan was covered by a vast mist, and he could no longer see the inside. A strange feeling of space collapsing and time reversing in everyone's hearts, making everyone felt extremely uncomfortable. Tan Yuan and the small floating sedan naturally disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Eyes, spiritual sense, and soul remembrance could not be sensed or investigated. But at this moment, his brows furrowed and his eyes were filled with astonishment. The sword soul hidden in the depths of his arm started to stir again. The mysterious connection between the sword soul and the sword soul suddenly became clear again. The sword soul pointed to where Tan Yuan and the small floating sedan were. It was a strange place that was covered by a mountain and river array and was covered in mist. Li Yuchan's expression was cold. At this moment she suddenly said, "Li Qi, come with me. I have something to say to you." Yu Yuan was stunned. The other 3 women in colorful clothes that Tan Yuan had left behind to guard the place looked at Li Yuchan. One of the older women with long hair tied up frowned and said, "Just now, I was just asking the Li family's juniors about the situation of the Empire." Li Yuchan snorted coldly. "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I won't go too far. If anything happens to you, just shout and I'll rush over instantly." Without waiting for the 3 women to express their opinions, she pressed her hand down and grabbed Yu Yuan's left shoulder. In the next second, she and Yu Yuan flew away from the group of people on a cloud. After a while, she placed Yu Yuan on a wet patch of land a few miles away from Qiao Su, Fang Chun, and the others. She took out a waxy yellow bead. She threw the bead into the sky and it instantly emitted a strange luster. The dim yellow light vaguely covered her and Yu Yuan, making Yu Yuan feel dizzy. He actually felt sleepy and wanted to fall asleep. Yu Yuan immediately knew that the bead she took out should have the ability to obscure soul perception. But this bead's grade should be very ordinary. It had many drawbacks and negative effects on cultivators of lower realms. Liu Chan clearly wanted to tell him something secret and didn't want others to hear. She didn't care about his realm and whether he could withstand the negative effects of this bead on his soul. "Aren't you at the Split Yen Islands? Why did you suddenly come to the desolate God Great Lake?" Liu Chan's eyes suddenly turned sharp and cold, as though she had regained the fierce aura she had in the Silver Moon Empire. All high-level demon beasts and demons that can transform have been temporarily banished by the desolate god. Visitors from the outside world are not allowed to exceed the soul-traversing realm and level 7 demons. Under such circumstances you barged in. Are you courting death? Liu Chan's tone was stern and her attitude was unfriendly. What about you? Why are you here? Yu Yuan didn't answer but asked instead. I heard that you and Li Yu were targeted the moment you left Heaven Pass Island. Shen Feiqing appeared and killed those people on the spot. Then, she brought you and Li Yu away. Shen Feiqing brought you and Li Yu to the desolate God Great Lake? What's hidden in the depths of the mist? Tan Yuan is from the ancient desolate sect, right? Also, why did the Qiao family of the Hui Yao Empire come to the Great Lake at this juncture? Is the purple jade dragon on the verge of death seeking treatment? Yu Yuan was filled with questions. It wasn't easy for him to have some time alone, so he hurriedly asked. My sister, Liu Chan said. Her Majesty's Yin soul was not destroyed at the island in the middle of the lake in Wasteland. Yu Yuan deliberated for a moment. He felt that Chun Liangquan and the Silver Moon Queen were likely to be like Tan Yuan. They knew someone in the mist. He said truthfully, there is a person from the Azure Luan Empire called Chun Liangquan. Liu Chan's expression changed slightly. I heard Tan Yuan mention him before. Not long ago, Chun Liangquan stepped into the island in the middle of the lake and saved the Empress's Yin god. He helped her gather her memories. The shock in Yu Yuan's heart grew heavier and heavier as she said, Chun Liangquan saved her. That person is familiar with Shen Feiqing. They seem to belong to the same mysterious faction. As he said this, Yu Yuan looked at the three-water formation. Tan Yuan should be one of them. My sister's Yin soul is still alive. Liu Chan's cold eyes quietly lit up. As long as her Yin soul is still alive. I heard from Tan Yuan that my sister's true body was only suppressed by the Goblin Temple. It wasn't destroyed. She promised me that as long as I was loyal to them, she would think of a way to save my sister from the Goblin Temple. Who are they? Yu Yuan shouted. I don't know. I still don't know. Liu Chan shook his head with a fearful expression. Shen Feiqing, my sister, Chun Liangquan, and Tan Yuan. They should have obtained their trust and are one of them. The current me has yet to prove myself. I have yet to be recognized, so there are many things that I am not told. There is one thing that I am certain of. They are extremely powerful and are protected by the desolate god. From what I know and what I heard from Tan Yuan's words, they don't even fear the carefree realm cultivators of the vast world. After a pause, she suddenly said, Do you still remember Long Tianxiao? Of course. Yu Yuan shook. I released him from the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land. I even came into contact with him in the Jade Peak mountain range. He was captured alive. He is also inside. Liu Chan pointed in the direction they had come from. The Hui Yao Empire's little palanquin is coming for him. The dragon nurturer inside wants to use Long Tianxiao to help the violet jade dragon recover, and even improve it. I remember that Long Tianxiao was with Chen Qinyan. He chose to serve Chen Qinyan. Yu Yuan was shocked. Chen Qinyan is a cultivation genius of the sword sect. How could those people dare to rely on Long Tianxiao? Chen Qingyan was that person's personal disciple. That person was one of the sword sect's current great sword immortals, a Freedom Realm great sword immortal. His killing power could shake heaven and earth. How could such a power dare to provoke Long Tianxiao? Chen Qingyan was captured as well. Li Yuchan snorted. You sure know a lot of people. Under Long Tianxiao's care, Chen Qingyan hunted sea demons in the desolate god Great Lake to cultivate. When the desolate god in the depths of the lake gathered all the spiritual qi, an unforeseen event occurred. Chen Qingyan relied on the fact that she came from the sword sect, had a divine sword, and had Long Tianxiao by her side to not leave in time. She and Long Tianxiao were both captured alive. They were trapped within the mist. It was only because Chen Liangquan sent a message over and Chen Qingyan's master was difficult to deal with that they were temporarily fine. But Long Tianxiao was originally a traitor of the Hidden Dragon Lake. He shouldn't be able to survive this time. She took a deep breath. The Desolate God is one of the few races in the Howren that dares to challenge the three great sects, the Devil's Palace and the Goblin Temple. If Chen Qingyan's master can condense a Yuan spirit, she can threaten the Desolate God in any world outside the Desolate God Great Lake. But in the lake, even a Yuan spirit realm great sword immortal won't be able to touch the Desolate God. Furthermore, she still hasn't formed a Yuan spirit. Li Yuchan was silent for a moment. She then said, The current Desolate God Great Lake is treacherous and dangerous. Your cultivation base is too low, so don't stay for too long. Later, I'll think of a way to beg Yen Yuan to let you leave. As long as you're far enough away and make sure no one cares about you, you can go back as soon as possible. Yu Yuan frowned in silence. A faintly discernible figure suddenly whistled over from the distance, alarming the fiend demon cauldron and causing Yu Yuan's expression to change. The figure flying through the air also seemed to be heading to the misty area. But midway, he inadvertently glanced over and suddenly changed directions in surprise, heading straight for Yu Yuan and Li Yuchan. Yen Qiling. Chapter 574. Yen Qiling's appearance surprised Yu Yuan greatly. According to the rules set by the Desolate God, soul-traversing realm and rank 7 great demons were not allowed to enter the swamp. Otherwise they would be killed. Yen Qiling was definitely on the list of people who should be killed, but he ran rampant in the swamp without fear and was safe. Whoosh! A faint ripple appeared in space. Yen Qiling ignored the dim yellow light barrier that Li Yuchan had released and went straight in. To Yen Qiling, who was well versed in the true meaning of space, the so-called temporary barrier that Li Yuchan had built was a joke. In an instant, he flashed in and stood in front of Yu Yuan. He said in pleasant surprise, "Why are you here?" Yu Yuan smiled brightly. "I heard that the Desolate God Great Swamp is undergoing a great change, so I came to take a look." Li Yuchan had met Yen Qiling in the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land and Dark Moon City. He was not unfamiliar with him. When Li Yuchan and Li Yu were imprisoned by Fan Xian and the others in the Huang family, it was Yen Qiling who helped Yu Yuan escape from the Demon Moon Empire. She should be grateful to Yen Qiling, but after Yen Qiling flew down, her expression turned colder. She later learned that Yen Qiling was the biggest accomplice in her sister's capture. "Oh Yu, why are you running around?" Yen Qiling rubbed his forehead and laughed bitterly. "Your appearance in the Great Swamp will probably cause a storm of blood in this world. You've heard of the nickname given to me by the Tongtian Trading Company?" Yu Yuan was surprised. "God of Plagues, of course I've heard of it." Yen Qiling laughed. Li Yuchan stilled. God of Plagues. She mulled over these 2 words as she recalled the places that Yu Yuan had been to and the things that had happened there. She nodded in agreement. She also felt that the God of Plagues, given by the Tongtian Trading Company, was quite appropriate. Don't the Aragami have their own rules? Aren't you afraid of death? Yu Yuan sized him up and instinctively felt that his aura was becoming more and more erratic. Even though he was right in front of him, Yu Yuan had a strange feeling that he was in a different time and space, and that he was looking at him from afar. This meant that Yan Qiling's understanding of the power of space had improved a lot. I was invited here. Of course I'm not afraid. Yan Qiling's expression was calm. A woman named Tan Yuan invited me over. She wants to make a big deal with me. Sandalwood. Li Yuchan frowned. Yu Yuan also said, "Aren't you afraid of a trap?" Tan Yuan, Shen Feiqing, the Silver Moon Queen, and Chen Liangquan were most likely in cahoots and belonged to the same mysterious force. In the barren abandoned grounds, Yan Qiling, Zhou Sangmin, Python Queen Su Xiling, and Yu Zhu had worked together and ruined their plans. How could they let it go? Could Tan Yuan have set up a trap and schemed against him in the formation formed by the 18 winding rivers? A trap. Yan Qiling smiled and didn't care. In this swamp, other than the origami, no one else has the ability to keep me here. When he said this, he was full of confidence. You should know that those who are skilled in the power of space are the least afraid of being surrounded. Yan Qiling looked proudly into the distance. Even if their realm is 1 or 2 realms higher than mine, they can forget about trapping me or killing me. The origami in the depths of the swamp won't kill me. I'm not afraid of Tan Yuan's trap at all. A high-pitched whistle suddenly rang out from the white mist. Li Yuchan's expression changed slightly. They've summoned me. Who are they? Yan Qiling looked at Yu Yuan. They're Tan Yuan's people, Yu Yuan answered. Come, I'll take you there. After seeing Yu Yuan, Yan Qiling naturally wanted to pull Yu Yuan away from Li Yuchan. The two had been through the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land, the barren abandoned grounds, and the Blue Peak mountain range together. They had a deep friendship and worked together smoothly. Yan Qiling was probably the person who knew Yu Yuan's secrets the most. He knew that he had been chosen by the sword soul of a moon-severing realm great cultivator, that he cultivated the extreme wisdom soul tempering art, that he could communicate with the sealing heaven soul refining formation, and that he could form a profound soul connection with the strange space under the soul refining pool. Now, he learned that Yu Yuan had obtained the fiend demon cauldron in the starry ash sea through other means. In Yan Qiling's eyes, Yu Yuan, whose realm was not high for now, would definitely be an extraordinary person in the future. Moreover, he had a deep connection with Yan Qiling. Whether it was for business or personal reasons, he would take good care of Yu Yuan and maintain a good relationship with Yu Yuan. I'm called Li Qi here, a member of the Li family, Yu Yuan hurriedly said. I'll go with her and check out the situation. If possible, take me with you and take a look at the depths of the mist. Yan Qiling nodded and said, It's no trouble. A chessboard made of intertwined spatial patterns suddenly appeared under Yan Qiling's tug. The black and white chessboard spun in the air and changed space instantly. Time and space changed. In the next moment, Yu Yuan discovered that he and Li Yuchan had appeared at the place they had left earlier. Short-distance teleportation was a piece of cake for Yan Qiling at this moment. Fang Chun at Dragon Concealment Lake couldn't help but exclaim. Looking at Yu Yuan and Li Yuchan who had suddenly teleported over, his mouth opened slightly, not knowing what to do. Greetings, Mr. Yan. Tan Yuan, who had entered with the small hovering sedan, came out again. It seemed like she was deliberately picking up Yan Qiling. I'm here. Let's go. Yan Qiling nodded with an arrogant expression. I know this Li Qi. He helped me during the trial in the Fallen Moon Forbidden Zone. As he spoke, he pulled Yu Yuan to his side. Tan Yuan was stunned. Mr. Yan, you met him in the Fallen Moon Forbidden Zone? Yes. Yan Qiling was slightly impatient. He's going in with me. When he said this, Fang Chun, Qiao Su, and the others from the Qiao family had strange expressions. They didn't know Yan Qiling's background, but judging from the respect Tan Yuan had for him, he wasn't simple. Why would such a person think so highly of this kid from the Li family? This is not in accordance with the rules. I'll have to ask for instructions later. Tan Yuan looked troubled. Go now, Yan Qiling urged. Okay. Tan Yuan nodded and then said to the other 3 women in colorful clothes, if the people from the Yin Charm sect arrive later, tell them to wait. The Yin Charm sect. Yu Yuan's heart shook. Liu Chan seemed to have known. His eyes were slightly cold, but he didn't say anything. Understood, the 3 women said in unison. Tan Yuan and Yan Qiling apologized, and then flashed back into the white mist, disappearing once again. A while later, a group of 3 people slowly appeared from another direction. The leader was an old woman with a face full of wrinkles and holding a white jade walking stick. Behind her were Zhang Man and Zhang Miao on her left and right. Liu Chan snorted with a cold expression. Ah! Zhang Man and Zhang Miao, who were about 300 meters away from Yu Yuan, exclaimed softly upon noticing her. They knew that Liu Chan was there. When Shen Feiqing had shown up to help Liu Chan and Liu by killing those people outside of Heavenspan Island, they had guessed that they might run into Liu Chan again in the Great Lake of Desolate God. Hence, they weren't surprised to see Liu Chan. What surprised them was Yu Yuan's appearance. Li family's Li Qi, it's nice to see you 2 sisters again. Yu Yuan laughed and called out loudly. Just as Zhang Man was about to reveal his identity, her mind suddenly became muddled. She opened her mouth and slowly closed it. Her younger sister, Zhang Miao, poked her head out and smiled at Yu Yuan. Her smile was sweet and her eyes were playful. I'm stuck today. My mind is in a mess. Sorry. Chapter 575. Her younger sister, Zhang Miao, was no longer timid and cowardly in this world. Although she still stood behind Zhang Man out of habit and ordered her to speak for her, the aura she displayed now was slightly sharper. Perhaps everyone present knew of her identity, so there was no need for her to hide it. Li Qi, the corners of the mouth of the old woman from the Yin Charm sect curled up slightly, as if she had heard the 2 sisters mention him before. After a brief smile, she nodded towards Yu Yuan and said, I'm Zhao Jie from the Yin Charm sect. Please enlighten me. Zhao Jie. The expressions of Fang Chun from the Dragon Concealment Lake and Qiao Su from the Qiao family changed. Yu Yuan was surprised and bowed in return. Senior Zhao is too polite. Zhao Jie. Liu Chan's expression changed as well. He looked at the wrinkled old granny who was holding a white jade walking stick. He hesitated for a moment before probing, Senior Zhao, was there a title of charming spirit in the past? I didn't expect generally to have heard of my past reputation, the old granny said with a smile. Charming spirit. It's her. All the Qiao family members, the dragon attendants who didn't know what was going on, and the 3 women who were guarding this place under Tan Yuan's orders were shocked. It was as if they had all heard of the name Charming Spirit. Only Yan Qiling, who had escaped from the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land, and Yu Yuan, who had reincarnated, knew nothing about Charming Spirit. They didn't know Zhao Jie's background. 100 years ago, the Qianxian continent had been peaceful for a long time. Because of a beautiful woman, the Hui Yao Empire and the Heaven-Shaking Empire started a war. In the end, the other 4 empires were forced to participate in the war. This war attacked the entire continent. Blood flowed like rivers in the 6 Empires' War. This war caused the deaths of millions of soldiers, and many cities were reduced to ruins. That beautiful woman, who was rumored to be a beauty, caused chaos on the continent with the identity of a weak woman. In the end, she mysteriously disappeared. She was called Zhao Charming Spirit. Liu Chan sucked in a cold breath. After saying this, he looked at Zhao Jie with wariness. Without using any martial power, the Charming Spirit had appeared out of nowhere and caused a series of bloody battles in the entire Qianxian continent, resulting in an incomparably tragic outcome. As for himself, He quietly went into seclusion and no one knew where he was. The name, Charming Spirit, was a legend in the hearts of all the women in the world. How beautiful must she be to be able to create such huge waves all by herself? The rumors are too exaggerated. Zhao Jie smiled and shook her head. The 6 great empires are already full of contradictions. I just took the opportunity to light a fire and let it burn. 100 years ago, when she had just made some progress in her cultivation, the Charm sect had arranged for her to train in the mortal world. Yet, she had already caused such a huge commotion. This is enough to prove that she had cultivated the Charm sect's charm technique to an extremely high level. You're using what you've learned so well. It's really amazing. I can't help but admire you. Qiao Su from the Qiao family was filled with emotions. She looked at Zhao Jie in confusion. How did the charming spirit, 100 years later, become such a wrinkled old woman? Had her legendary earth-shattering beauty disappeared with the passage of time? Cultivators had techniques to retain their look. This Zhao Jie gave him the feeling that she was full of vitality. She shouldn't look like this. Which woman didn't want to be beautiful and purposely made herself ugly and old? Where's Sandalwood? Zhao Jie, who was leaning on her walking stick, didn't care about the discussion. She glanced at the white fog and asked softly. Wait a moment. A woman in a colorful dress hurriedly answered. She's asking for instructions. She'll be out soon. What instructions? Zhao Jie asked curiously. I want to bring Li Qi with me. Sandalwood said that it's against the rules, so she wants to ask the person in charge. Yan Qiling raised his head with a cold expression. He came from the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land and had a strange background. He didn't care about small sects like the Charm sect. No matter how famous the charming spirit was in the Qianxian continent and how much she had cultivated the Charm sect's charm technique, it was nothing to Yan Qiling. Li Qi Zhao Jie, who knew Yu Yuan's true identity, muttered softly and nodded. Then let's wait. Qiao Su and Fang Chun looked at Yan Qiling and Zhao Jie in confusion. Yan Qiling and Zhao Jie seemed to treat Yu Yuan more seriously than Li Yuchan. What was so special about this kid that they had captured midway and said he came from the declining Li family? A moment later, Sandalwood, who cultivated the ancient Baron sect's secret arts, walked out of the fog and appeared in front of everyone. You're here. When Sandalwood appeared and saw Zhao Jie, she immediately beamed with joy. Her smile was sincere. Yes, I was delayed on the way, so I'm late. Zhao Jie seemed to be old friends with her and seemed to know her well. Is it okay inside? It's fine for now. Sandalwood didn't elaborate and looked at Yu Yuan. The look in Tan Yuan's eyes suddenly became sharp, as if it was going to pierce into the depths of Yu Yuan's bones and soul. Yu Yuan's body stiffened, and she felt indescribably uncomfortable. Yu Yuan's heart shook. He instantly realized that Sandalwood knew his true identity. Oh no. He smiled bitterly. Thinking that there might be enemies like Shen Feiqing and Du Jing in the depths of the fog, he felt that he shouldn't have asked Yan Qiling. Young Master Li, please. Yan Yuan leaned to the side and pointed at the misty land. She didn't even look at Yan Qiling as she sincerely invited him. My master has spoken. He specially invited young Master Li to go in and treat him well. Master said that there are many acquaintances of young Master Li inside. Charming Spirit, Zhao Jie and the pair of sisters from the Charm sect smiled at Yu Yuan. Li Yuchan also noticed that something was amiss and said, This disciple of my clan. Sandalwood smiled at her and cut her off. Master has specially invited him. This has nothing to do with whether he is a member of your Li family. Even if your sister was here, she wouldn't be able to change anything, much less you. Li Yuchan's heart sank. Then can I enter? Not for now. Master hasn't said anything. You can't enter. Sandalwood rejected her directly and pointed at the depths of the fog. She continued to smile and said to Yu Yuan, please. At this moment, the people from the Radiance Empire knew that Yu Yuan was unusual. Jiao Su was still fine. She didn't do anything to Yu Yuan along the way. Fang Chun's eyes flickered when he thought of those things. Let's enter. Yu Yuan steeled himself and pointed at Fang Chun. Senior Sandalwood, I don't like this person. Kill him for me. If he doesn't die, I won't go in obediently. I'll cause a ruckus. As he said this, Yu Yuan tapped the Zhigung meridian in his chest and released the aura of the fiendish demon cauldron. Yan Qiling suddenly stood between Sandalwood and Yu Yuan and faced Sandalwood. He's just a dragon attendant. If he dies, so be it. What's there to fuss about? Fang Chun's expression changed as he shouted, No matter who that kid is, you can't kill me. Sandalwood had a troubled expression. After some consideration, she nodded gently. Hum. Wisps of spirit energy that contained a dragon's aura mixed with blood and surged through Fang Chun's meridians. Fang Chun had a bad premonition and didn't think of escaping. He shot at Yu Yuan like a cannonball. A dragon silhouette made of interweaving lightning bolts shot out from between Fang Yao's eyebrows, carrying with it the power to destroy souls. It suddenly pierced towards Yu Yuan's mind, intending to kill her as soon as possible. Fang Chun knew that he couldn't escape from Yan Qiling and Sandalwood. What he wanted to do was to drag Yu Yuan down with him before he died. He wanted Yu Yuan to die first. How dare a speck of light compete with the sun and moon? Yan Qiling sneered and casually pinched the tiny lightning dragon. With a fierce force, the lightning dragon was directly crushed by Yan Qiling. Sandalwood waved his sleeve, and a domineering fist intent that filled the entire world, causing the void to creak, locked Fang Chun and the small space he was in. The fist intent was like a cage that rapidly shrunk. This dragon attendant, who had reached the Een spirit realm and was loyal to the hidden dragon lake, was crushed by the strands of fist intent. His bones first shattered and then his flesh exploded. In the end, he turned into a cloud of blood mist. The remaining dragon attendants trembled when they saw Fang Chun being killed on the spot. However, they didn't dare to lend a hand. They didn't even dare to question Fang Chun. I'll give an explanation to those dragons, not you guys. Sandalwood waved her sleeve and crushed the bloody mist. With a calm expression, she invited once more, please. In the dragon concealment lake, the dragons were the ones who raised them, not the dragon attendant. Those who cultivated the secret arts of the dragon race as humans and treated the dragon race as their masters had never been taken seriously by someone like Sandalwood. She looked down on the dragon attendants from the bottom of her heart and treated them as lowly slaves. I'll be happy if he's dead. Let's go in. Yu Yuan laughed. There was no longer any fear in his heart. He walked in with the attitude that he would deal with whatever came his way. Chapter 576. Streaks of multicolored light could be seen flashing on his left and right like rainbows. Standing in it, Yu Yuan felt as if he had entered a space-time tunnel and was about to enter another heaven and earth. Sandalwood led the way, her figure drifting from place to place. Sometimes she was far away and sometimes she was close. Space seemed to be filled with boundless changes, causing one to be unable to grasp one's position. It was a strange feeling of seeming right but actually not. Yu Yuan's 5 senses seemed to be clouded, and he couldn't sense anything. Yan Qiling walked with him with a smile at the corner of his mouth, as if he found this heaven and earth to be very interesting. He explained with a smile, "This is a broken spatial tunnel. I don't know where it leads to." A broken spatial tunnel? Yu Yuan gasped with astonishment. Spatial tunnels were very mysterious. They might lead to some arcane realm or some magical place in the Howren heaven and earth. They might even lead to the Starry River in the Starry River. For example, The soul-transforming lake in the forbidden land of the fallen moons had a passage that connected to the starry river in the depths of the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Was there something similar in the depths of the desolate god realm? Was it naturally formed, or was it man-made? With these thoughts in mind, Yu Yuan's heart gradually sank, as he felt that something was very unusual. Zhao Jie and the beautiful sisters from the Yin Charm sect were walking at the back of the group. At this moment, the three of them were also looking around with great interest. Sandalwood smiled and said, "Mr. Yen, you're indeed an honorable guest that Master has asked us to invite." Tan Yuanren was at the front. She turned her head and smiled, saying, "We still need to rely on Mr. Yen to protect this broken land. We are not proficient in the power of space, so we need someone like Mr. Yen. If the price is enough, we can talk about anything." Yen Qiling said proudly, "Mr. Yen, is your friendship with Yu Yuan really so deep in the forbidden land of the fallen moons?" Sandalwood changed the topic and revealed Yu Yuan's true identity. "Then," she said, "as far as I know, Mr. Yen has been in the Jade Peak mountain range, the desolate abandoned land, and the Dark Moon City. You, however, have taken special care of Yu Yuan, which we don't understand." Now, Yu Yuan had the fiendish demon cauldron and was highly regarded by the great sword immortal, Fan Heching. Moreover, because of you two, he had become a hot commodity. However, Yu Yuan was not particularly conspicuous in the past. Why did Yen Qiling protect him at every turn? "You've done a thorough investigation?" Yen Qiling snorted. "It seems that you have people in high positions within the Tongtian Trading Company, right? Since you know so much, you should also know that if Yu Yuan hadn't shown mercy in the Forbidden Land, I wouldn't have been able to break free from that sealing soul-transforming formation." Sandalwood gently nodded. "I know. Do you understand kindness?" Yen Qiling asked again. "Kindness? So that was the case. I thought that someone like Mr. Yen wouldn't care about this." As Tan Yuan spoke, she took a step forward and suddenly disappeared. As Yu Yuan listened to their conversation, he didn't feel any fear, but he knew that this trip would be extremely dangerous. If he wasn't careful, he might lose his life. Even if Yen Qiling was by his side, he probably wouldn't be able to protect him. The fiendish demon cauldron's hidden sword soul couldn't keep him safe in the unknown heaven and earth in the great desolate god lake either. This was the first time he had been in such a perilous situation since his reincarnation. He had no confidence at all. After all, there were too many terrifying figures here who could kill him in an instant. "I'll do my best." Yen Qiling and Ye Tian walked step by step to the place where Tan Yuan had disappeared. Then, they saw a vast expanse of white mist in front of them. "Come with me." Yen Qiling had long since sensed it. He grabbed Yu Yuan's shoulder and jumped into the depths of the white mist. Time and space seemed to turn upside down. Whoosh! All of a sudden, the two of them fell into a strange land where the sky was gray and the ground was dry and cracked. It was a dilapidated and deathly silent land. Trees that were more than 100 meters tall were bare, without a single leaf. Their branches were as sharp as spears and emitted an icy light. They seemed to be able to cut through metal and stone, easily piercing through flesh. There was a gray-white stone pillar that was 300 meters tall. Those tree branches were sticking out of the pillar, imprisoning the human-headed dragon-bodied Long Tianxiao. The method of imprisoning him was both bloody and strange. Long Tianxiao's head was above the stone pillar. His huge dragon body was coiled around the stone pillar, hanging down like vines. The giant tree branches that were as sharp as spears seemed to have grown out of the stone pillars and pierced deeply into the dragon's body that was winding downwards. Long Tianxiao looked like he had been nailed to the stone pillar by hundreds of thorns. The violet jade dragon that Yu Yuan had seen in the forest, because of Li Yuchan's sudden attack, had become extremely slender. It was also coiling around Long Tianxiao's body. At first glance, they looked like two giant snakes, but one was thick and solid while the other was long and slender. The thick one was Long Tianxiao's body, while the slender one was the heavily injured violet jade dragon that had been tormented by the poison. The strange thing was that the violet jade dragon coiled around Long Tianxiao's body like it was attached to the stone pillar. Under the shattered scales of the violet jade dragon, blood was flowing out of its wounds, and they were quietly healing. On the other hand, Long Tianxiao's thick dragon body was rotting all over. That violet jade dragon's slender body was glowing with a faint purple light. The violet jade dragon's heavy injuries and fatal poison seemed to have been transferred to Long Tianxiao through some secret technique through the stone pillar. Long Tianxiao's eyes were wide open, filled with despair and pain. But there was no focus or spirit in his eyes. It was like he couldn't see anything. Huff, huff. Long Tianxiao's open mouth was like a leaking window as he gasped for breath. The purple jade dragon's head was buried in his carotid artery, and it was sucking his blood and dragon soul. It has nothing to do with you. Yan Qiling gently patted Yu Yuan's shoulder, waking him up. Yu Yuan forced himself to look away from Long Tianxiao's face. Taking a deep breath, he said, "He will die, and he will die the most painful and thorough death. That stone pillar is called a dragon mark pillar. It belongs to the dragon race." Yan Qiling quietly explained, "The dragon race can also be classified as an ancient demon race. After all, dragons are also a type of demon race. The dragon mark pillar is the totem pillar of the dragon race. It contains many inconceivable mysteries. The violet jade dragon used this dragon mark pillar to transfer the poison to Long Tianxiao, taking his dragon blood and dragon soul to strengthen itself. That method can be said to be cruel." After pausing for a moment, Yan Qiling once more said, "You can't change anything, and you can't stop it. Furthermore, you've already released him back then. You don't owe him anything. The fact that he wasn't able to protect himself and ended up like this wasn't caused by you." As he said that, he dragged Yu Yuan and forced her to continue walking forward. Behind them, the charming sex Zhao Jie led Zhang Man and Zhang Miao in. Seeing the scene in front of them, Zhang Man and Zhang Miao were deeply shocked. Zhao Jie, who was known as a charming spirit and whose beauty could topple cities and shake the entire continent, seemed to have seen many great storms. She was unmoved as she said, "Don't meddle in other people's business." She was reminding Zhang Miao not to have any thoughts about that violet jade dragon or Long Tianxiao who had been stripped of his flesh and blood. "Where is Chen Qinyan?" Yu Yuan took a deep breath and stared at the withered land in front of her, where Tan Yuan was waiting for her. He truly didn't have a deep relationship with Long Tianxiao. Although it was hard for him to accept the fact that this expert with mixed dragon blood and human blood had ended up in such a miserable state, it wasn't enough to make him lose all reason. But Chen Qinyan had helped him several times in the Jade Peak mountain range and the Chilling Wind Valley. Furthermore, Chen Qingyan's master was an old friend of his from his previous life. The only time he had interacted with Chen Qinyan was in the Jade Peak mountain range. But because of their friendship from his previous life, he was even more concerned about Chen Qingyan's life and death. He could ignore Long Tianxiao's life and death, but Chen Qinyan couldn't. That stubborn girl relied on the fact that she came from a famous family and had a good master to protect her. Her actions in the Great Marsh are very unreliable. Tan Yuan's expression was cold. If it weren't for her coming from the Azure Luan Empire's Chen family, and if someone hadn't warned her beforehand, she wouldn't have ended up any better than Long Tianxiao. From Tan Yuan's words, they weren't giving face to the sword sect or Chen Qingyan's master. Instead, it was because of Chen Liangquan. In the great desolate god marsh, Chen Liangquan's face was even greater than the sword sect's. "As long as you're fine." Yu Yuan let out a sigh of relief. Turning back, he once more looked at Long Tianxiao and sighed inside. He said that he wanted to help, but was unable to, and continued to follow Tan Yuan. Chapter 577. The gray, dilapidated land exuded a desolate, cold, deathly stillness and withering aura. The white mist had dissipated, and not a single wisp of heaven and earth spirit energy remained. The ground was dry and cracked, and the towering trees seemed to have died a long time ago. Suddenly, a giant crocodile crawling on the ground came into view. The giant crocodile was about 30 meters tall and 300 meters long. Its body was like a hard brown mountain, and it exuded a brutal, bloodthirsty aura even from a great distance away. Thick flesh and blood energy spread from the surface of the giant crocodile's body, but it couldn't completely leave it. The giant crocodile's forehead was covered in sharp, cold spikes. Yu Yuan's heart shook the moment he saw the giant crocodile. He immediately recalled the scene he had seen in the fiendish demon cauldron, which he had mistaken for an underwater cave during the Starry Ash Sea trial. The giant crocodile looked exactly the same. It had the same size and the same brutal aura. The only difference was that the giant crocodile inside the fiendish demon cauldron had died a long time ago, and all of its flesh and blood essence had been devoured by the fiendish demon cauldron. However, the crocodile in front of him was different. Even though it was still very far away, Yu Yuan felt a chill run down his spine just by looking at it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The flesh and blood energy that surrounded the giant crocodile, which also came from the giant crocodile, surged like a bloody cloud. The vast, violent energy it exuded made those with low cultivations feel suffocated. Stabilize your profound gate acupoints. Zhao Jie of the Yin Charming sect exclaimed softly, warning Zhang Miao to be careful. The senile charming spirit clasped her sister Zhang Man's wrist with one hand that looked like a chicken's claw, and channeled abundant flesh and blood energy into her to help her stabilize her chaotic flesh and blood. Her sister's cultivation base was truly low. She was just a puppet. She took care of her sister purely because Zhang Man couldn't withstand a single blow, but she was useful to Zhang Miao. What she was truly concerned about was her sister, Zhang Miao. Zhang Miao breathed softly. Two beams of flesh and blood energy that were as thin as white dragons quietly formed at the tip of her nose. She performed an exquisite incantation to stabilize her flesh and blood energy so that she wouldn't be affected by the sea of flesh and blood within the giant crocodile's body and go berserk. Ha ha! The ancient desolate sex Tan Yuan stood below the huge crocodile's forehead. Compared to the huge crocodile, she appeared extremely small. She formed a seal with her hands and uttered a word, "Tut!" Like a heavenly melody, the word instantly caused the flesh aura sea to fluctuate violently, as if a huge wave had been set off in the dense flesh aura sea. Zhang Miao, who was secretly casting a spell, let out a muffled groan. The two slender white dragons in her nostrils instantly dissipated. A ferocious and tyrannical blood chi energy, like an iron fist that could destroy the world, suddenly emerged from the giant crocodile's blood chi cloud sea and slammed into everyone's celestial sect mini-world. Stop fooling around! Zhao Jie was slightly dissatisfied. She glared at Yin Yuan angrily. She suddenly froze. She noticed that her old friend wasn't targeting Zhang Miao and Zhang Man at all. He didn't even look at them. Tan Yuan only stared deeply at Yu Yuan, her eyes filled with ridicule. So, the reason she triggered the giant crocodile's blood energy fluctuation was to give that kid a show of strength. It's just that. Zhao Jie frowned slightly, a strange expression on her face. It's not going to work. Yan Qiling also looked at Yu Yuan, who was beside him, with a surprised expression on his face. Tan Yuan, who was well versed in body refinement incantations, activated the ferocious energy contained in the sea of flesh aura that spread out from the surface of the giant crocodile's blood chi. It formed a wave of strange power that targeted everyone, and could trigger everyone's celestial sect mini-world. This was clearly aimed at Yu Yuan. Zhang Man, who was affected, needed Zhao Jie's help to stay unharmed. Zhang Miao, whose cultivation base was higher than Ye Tian's, had long since condensed a Yin spirit. Even so, she had a hard time defending herself by secretly using secret magic. In the end, her blood chi mini-world failed to hold out, and she was slightly injured. However, Yu Yuan didn't seem to care at all. "Senior, are you trying to test me?" With these words, Yu Yuan pointed at his own nose and laughed. Then, he calmly walked towards the enormous crocodile that was crouching on the ground and said, "This strange creature from the starry river hasn't been dead for very long. Otherwise, as time goes by, no matter how strong its flesh aura is, it will be gone." No one knew that not only was he not affected, he was also struggling to resist the desire in his heart. Inside the flesh aura heaven and earth, the blood altar, which had been refined from the Chaos Kuan's giant beast essence ambers, blossomed with suffocating blood-colored light. At this moment, the blood altar seemed to have turned into a giant star beast that wanted to devour all living beings, and it exuded an extreme thirst for blood. He had suppressed this thirst with great difficulty. With the help of the blood altar and the evil demon cauldron, he had killed demon beasts without holding back, refined their flesh, and tempered his body again and again. He had already reached the late stage of the shattering realm. With one more step, he would be able to break through into the subtle realm. He had originally thought that he had already refined his body to the extreme, and there was no need to continue refining his flesh and blood. However, at this moment, he felt the thirst of the blood altar. He felt that every cell, every drop of blood, and every vein in his body was itching to try. His entire body seemed to be tainted with the aura of the blood altar, and he was filled with greed for the thick blood energy of the giant crocodile. The evil demon sect's body-tempering art is truly admirable. After waiting for a while, Tan Yuan found that Yu Yuan wasn't affected. The blood chi mini-world didn't erupt as she had expected, and she couldn't help but praise him in surprise. Zhang Miaoing Divine Realm Cultivation, the rising star of the Yin Charm sect's new generation, and she was regarded as a charming spirit. However, even after using a spirit art, she still couldn't bear it. Yu Yuan, who had yet to reach the subtle realm and was only at the shattering realm, was actually able to bear the hidden impact of the giant crocodile's blood energy. Tan Yuan, who thought highly of herself, had always thought that the ancient Baron sect's body-tempering art was the strongest in the world. By the time she had been accepted into the ancient Baron sect, the evil demon sect had already been destroyed and ceased to exist. Every time she heard others compare the ancient Baron sect to the evil demon sect, she felt indignant. She only thought that they were exaggerating about the evil demon sect. At this moment, she, who had purposely wanted to suppress Yu Yuan and see how powerful the evil demon body-tempering art was truly convinced. She no longer dared to underestimate the evil demon sect. She even felt a trace of fear in her heart. Too strong, too strange. It doesn't make sense, Tan Yuan muttered to herself. Yu Yuan, long time no see. Suddenly, a person emerged from the shadows behind the giant crocodile. He was still quite a distance away when he bowed to Yu Yuan. Then, he cupped his fists and said with a laugh, "I was arranged to come here and use this giant crocodile's blood energy to refine my body. I won't get involved in your matters." Du Huang. When Yu Yuan saw him, his face was full of surprise. "You? Are you representing the ancient Baron sect or yourself?" Du Huang, who had entered the Starry Ash Sea region as the leader of the ancient Baron sect's trial takers, was also a famous figure among the new generation of the ancient Baron sect. He was highly regarded by the ancient Baron sect. His appearance made Yu Yuan ponder. Could it be that the entire ancient Baron sect was on Xin Feiqing's side? This shock was no small matter. The ancient Baron sect was one of the 7 great lesser sections. At its peak, it had the qualifications to become a great sect. Even after it had fallen apart due to a conflict of ideals, the ancient Baron sect was still one of the 7 great lesser sections. If such a sect were to stand with the mysterious person in the depths of the fog, the situation would become even more serious. I am me. The ancient Baron sect is the ancient Baron sect. Du Huang was a little embarrassed. He scratched his head and said, I was adopted by my master since I was young. I will do whatever my master tells me to do. When he said this, it meant that his master was on the same side as Shun Feiqing and Tan Yuan. Master Du Huang was my senior brother in the ancient Baron sect. Tan Yuan smiled. Before Shun Feiqing, I was ambushed by my fellow sect members when I was out traveling. The sect thought that I was dead. However, my life was tough and I managed to survive. Not only did I survive, but I also lived very well. My cultivation did not improve and instead regressed. When my senior brother found out that I was still alive, he asked about the situation back then and arranged for Du Huang to come here to cultivate. In a few words, Tan Yuan recounted the events of the past and roughly explained the reason. There was nothing new under the sun. With Yu Yuan's personal experience, he deduced that the current ancient Baron sect had once wanted to eliminate Tan Yuan. In the end, she survived. After Tan Yuan, Shun Feiqing was targeted and betrayed the sect. This group of people from the ancient Baron sect formed a force of their own. They also convinced Du Huang's master to unite. The giant crocodile, the ancient Baron sect. Yu Yuan nodded slightly. Without stopping, he walked to Tan Yuan and Du Huang. Standing in front of the giant crocodile, he looked past the giant crocodile to the sparse ancient trees in the forest behind it. The wreckage of the battleship was scattered everywhere in the forest. Without any light, the wreckage was glowing. He immediately remembered that the giant crocodile in the small world inside the fiendish demon cauldron was also carrying a battleship of the alien race. With a flash of inspiration, he guessed that this giant, brutal, and bloodthirsty crocodile must have been enslaved and tamed by some powerful alien race from outer space. Like an old tortoise carrying things or an earth dragon carrying huge rocks, it carried those battleships to the depths of the Starry River to fight against the alien race. Is this place in outer space or the great desolate God Lake? Yu Yuan turned around and looked at Yan Qiling, who was strolling around and looking around. He asked the big question in his heart. We're still in the Howren heaven and earth, in the great desolate God Lake. Yan Qiling twitched the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, It's just that someone is so resourceful that they pulled a piece of a fragment from the Starry River into this place. Letting out a sigh of relief, Yu Yuan said, It's good that we're still in the Howren heaven and earth. He had thought that he would be transported from the Howren heaven and earth to the Starry River outside the Starry River after passing through the spatial tunnel with the flowing light. Without the Yang spirit, he wasn't qualified to soar in outer space with his own strength. Right now, he was still too weak. He was far from being able to explore the Starry River with his own strength. Pulling a piece of heaven and earth from the Starry River, hiding it from the heavens, and bringing it into the great desolate God Lake. Not bad at all. Yan Qiling withdrew his gaze and focused it on Tan Yuan. It seems that the owner of this place has a powerful background. What's his relationship with the desolate god? How could the desolate god allow him to do as he pleases? Not the desolate god. Yu Yuan was surprised. Of course not, Tan Yuan said. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.